Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, my name is Dave Scott. I'm so glad to be here with each and every one of you because we are in for a great night. Geraldine Orozco will be in momentarily. Dirty Fylth is here with another creepy cartoon. And the best part of tonight, we have each and every one of you. Hope you're having a wonderful night as we say hello to Tim Mothman and his goatee in the gold medal position. Race fan with a silver, Kitty Caddywhack with a bronze medal tonight. Hi, Simon the Likeable, Robert Lamoth, Michael Morris, Les Paul Holland. Good to see you all. Thank you for coming on in. As we continue on with our roll call, there's Deidre. Thank you for joining us. Acryong is back. Yeah, Acryong will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Noble Patrick, how you doing, buddy? And little Timmy James, what's happening? Eternity Eternal, Brown Dwarf, Kathy Evans, Miss Mary, good to see you all. Number 43 in your program, starting on defense tonight from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Janssen, Millennium, my man, Vanessa, Lee the Bee, how y'all doing? Rock and Rory has returned. Rock and Rory will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Thunderhead, how you doing? Good to see you. So we continue on with roll call. There's Pam Harris and Lisa Smith. Good to see you both. Little Cam over on Twitch. Yep. He did 482 jumping jacks in 5.5 minutes to warm up for tonight's show. Jay Truthseeker, what's happening? Good to see you. Algaray over on Twitch. He's just heading back from the gym right now. Yeah. 283 sit-ups in 3.5 minutes. Guy's a machine. His abs are huge and ripped right now. S. Vermet, good to see you. Operation Shutdown, Stargazer, and Christine Lynn, thank you so much for joining us. Hi, JSEO. Laura Lobbs, how are you? Tokeland, good to see you early. Political Foolishness, nice to have you here. So we continue on with our roll call. Doug Shelby is here, finally. The Doug Shelby has finally arrived, so which means we can officially start this show. The Doug Shelby. All right, continuing on. All right, there we go. Let us next say hello to, well, I think we're caught up right now. I think we are caught up. Yeah. Caught up real early. Man, usually we're still in roll call by now. Got lots of people in there, just nobody's checked into the chat room yet. Weird. So weird. All right. And let us next remind you that the Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. No ugly swag whatsoever. Nothing ugly. And we got new stuff up there. If you haven't got your SOR Lube t-shirt yet, your SOR Alien Lube t-shirt, you are missing out. Bobby Farron, how are you? Good to see you. Hi, Invisible Tracker. Melvin from Mars. Good to see you both. Roll call. That's what we do. Hold on. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott, your host of this show. And tonight we talk to Geraldine Orozco, the spiritual you, from GeraldineOrozco.com. She will be with us momentarily as we await the arrival of Geraldine. We are in roll call. And no, disclosure did not happen while you were on holidays, as for Matt. Not at all. No disclosure at all. I have no idea where Bill WD-40 is. Bill WD-40, if you're out there listening in, we need you back because we have gone unlubed for a long time now. It's been weeks. Weeks. I hope nothing happened to him. That would actually suck. It would. I like Bill WD-40. Otherwise, we're going to have to nickname someone else WD-40 to start lubing us up. Because you got to go into a show nice and smooth. You can't be rigid all the time. You know what I'm saying? All right, everybody, throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out, Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show planned for you tonight. Geraldine Orozco will be here momentarily for the spiritual you for her monthly visit into the weird, strange, and the soulful experience. Then in hour number 3, we head to the swamp. Swamp Dwellers back with another spooky story. Jackie Harmon comes in right after that with the Crypted report. Now we're just awaiting Geraldine to get here. She is having some computer issues. She will be here momentarily. But I can't wait. I love it when Geraldine is here. I always seem to learn so much. So much when she is here. You know? But I got to tell you, some of the spiritual stuff that's out there right now is pretty amazing. Have you ever had those times in your own personal life where literally you just feel spiritually drained? I'm going through that right now, where it's like, I even went to my ghost tour the other night and felt nothing. First time I've been to that bar and the buildings in a long time. And literally I felt nothing. I've never walked through those barns and not been like, okay, there's a ghost or there's something else or there's a spirit or there's weird energy here or there or wherever. It was weird for me. It was weird because, like, I know that place like the back of my hand. And I just could not figure it out. I couldn't figure it out. And then I realized as I was trying to get into my spiritual zen and my chi and, you know, get into my personal woo that I have stored up inside me. And I'm like, it's empty. It's empty. I'm telling you. It really, really sucks. Because here you go in and you're like, I want to feel something. And even at my Bigfoot spot on the weekend when I was there, I felt nothing. That was rare. Even when Tim and his wife heard footsteps in the trees about 60, 70 yards from us. And they brought their flashlight up and shined their really bright flashlight into the trees. Tim saw a shadow. I felt nothing. Nothing. I'm like, where is this coming from? Why is this going on? I need to figure that out. You know, I really do. Because honestly, it troubled me. Because you always want to be prepared. You always want to feel like you got your game on. You know what I'm saying? It's like going into the batter's box of a baseball game, and you're like, oh, there's a strike. Oh, there's strike two. I'll just sit here and got nothing going on. There's strike three. Oh, I'm out. Geraldine Orozco is here. I'm going to read her bio because that's the professional radio thing to do. Read the bio. Her hair looks fantastic, by the way. You can't see that on radio, but her hair looks fantastic. And I will guarantee that the reason why she's late tonight is probably not a technical error, but she couldn't figure out which shoes to wear for tonight. Even though we can't see her shoes, she couldn't figure out which pair. Probably went with like a sandal type of heel or something. Geraldine Orozco, her website, geraldineorozco.com, researches the role of DNA as the currency of the past, present, and future, with consciousness as the catalyst. She had a lifelong changing experience back in 2013, reactivated her psychic abilities in 2017, and then underwent several hypnotic regressions with vetted therapists to find out what was going on. She found out that she had a lifelong history of alien abduction. Her life is now dedicated to the dissemination of the knowledge of hybridization programs and the correction of the commonly held dogma of the human genetic timeline, historical record, and human structure. And that's why we love her when she is here. Geraldine Orozco, good to see you back on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, my friend?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for waiting. I can't log into my Facebook on my desktop, and so that's where I
Oh,
get
my.
the link from Dave. So I had to do all kinds of crazy things. I thank you for your patience. It's so wonderful to be here, as always, Dave. Thank you.
I'm still going with my excuse. You couldn't find the proper shoes to your outfit tonight.
Sure. Okay. Let's
Like,
do that.
for people who don't know, Geraldine literally has a second bedroom in her beautiful,
This-
56-story condo that she lives in San
Mhm.
Francisco.
Yeah.
And it is filled wall to wall with shoes.
That's absolutely not true, but okay.
My story is more
None of
believable.
the story is true, but that's okay.
Oh, I love you, my friend. You are one of my best friends in this field, and I think you are just so special and wonderful. I do want to ask you something right off the bat, because while you were getting your technical stuff figured out, I was kind of explaining to the audience that I had something happen this weekend that I don't ever recall happening, Geraldine.
Hmm.
And that is I feel spiritually drained. Like I am running on empty.
Hmm.
And I noticed it on Saturday night when I do my biweekly ghost tour to raise money for the local museum. And that was the first time I had been in any of the buildings where I felt nothing going on. It was like I was completely drained. And then Sunday night, I went out for an adventure into the forest with some friends, and I felt nothing out there. I don't know whether I have blockages. I don't know whether I have spiritual attachments. I don't know if it's just because I'm spiritually drained right now. And I'm trying to put my finger on it because this is something brand new to me.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, you're probably the 20th person this week that I'm working with that with my clients and, people I interact with, friends, that is undergoing this kind of drain of energy. And, right now we're going through something called the Lion's Portal, which is essentially, 888. Numbers are very important. Numbers are the language of the universe. They're the language of frequency and it's energy. And they're very significant because they hold a charge, a charge that kind of shifts the way that we feel things because we are energetic beings. And so um, on Thursday, actually on the 8th, we're having a very incredible, important opening of energy. And This is a 2-week period, the Lion's Gate. Astrologically, we are affected by the movement of the cosmos, the cosmic energies in the universe. So the way that the sun moves, the way that the moon does affect the body, and it does affect the energy field when we're not as aware of how to maintain our own space. So right now, not only are solar flares incredibly strong right now, they do affect our body. And it is when it's such a magnitude of energy being moving in the universe, our life force does tend to get drained if we don't know how to cultivate the energy in that way. So we need to do extra energetic hygiene. These portals, they call them portals because they're energetic openings, they're alignments. And the alignment is really about the core subconscious of humanity and all the heaviness that it's carrying with it before we enter into the winter months, which are always times of retreat, recovery, rest, rejuvenation. So this is a time to let go of whatever debris you have in your energetic body and begin to move the energy in a way that is really, really conducive and productive for you. And it opens up intuitive abilities, and it opens up your ability to your sensitivity. If you listen to this exhaustion and use that exhaustion for some cleaning, some housekeeping energetically and emotionally, on the other side of that, you can end up with a lot of energy, and it would be very, very beautiful and healthy for you.
Well, hopefully, I mean, I'm going to take anything that I can get right now because,
Yeah.
I don't like running on empty. It sucks. I like being able to go into a place, and even though I don't consider myself psychic, I do consider myself intuitive, that I can feel things that are going on, and whether or not there's, spirits around, or my Sasquatch buddies are around hiding in the trees of the forest. I want to feel that. I want to feel them aliens that are, hovering around the sky. I I'm I'm out. Now, my question to you regarding this, because if I look back to Saturday when I noticed it,
Yeah.
Saturday night, I got real angry. Like I haven't felt anger like that in a long, long time. And when I was on investigation, well, not an investigation, on the tour, trying to conduct an experiment for our guests, one of my helpers was talking over top of me. And I felt this level of anger and wrath that I had not felt in a while. And I quickly grabbed a hold of my emotions because that's just not cool. That's not something that I want to do. But what surprised me was that I just could not get rid of that anger, Geraldine. Are other people that you're dealing with at the same time having emotional mood swings as well, like that?
Yeah, and I also want to speak to the amount of energy that you're saying that you want to be more open. Well, consider it this way: you think you have nothing, you feel that you have nothing, but here's what's happening: because we're holding dense energies in the body, strong emotions, for example, especially if there are low emotions like angers and fears, those are very slow moving wavelengths.
Mhm.
And they're more dense, and usually it's an alarm bell that says that there are some subconscious belief systems that are running on these low emotions. Let's say anger, for example. Perhaps anger has been stirring in the subconscious mind. Maybe it's stored in the body somewhere for a really long time. And when these energies of a higher frequency with massive amounts of energy that are coming in from the cosmos into the body, there's a contrast, and actually it's the contrast that feels completely exhausting and depleting to the body. So actually the opposite would have to be to open up the body and receive these massive energies through the body, because we are we clear out all that heavy stuff, raise the frequency, which means that your subconscious thoughts are operating at higher vibratory frequencies, not those slow ones. So let's say peace, harmony, compassion, coherence, those kinds of emotions that are a lot more compassive and unifying actually will eliminate that exhaustion, because the exhaustion happens because the contrast, there's like all this heavy energy coming down on everyone right now, and everyone's super heavy. The invitation is to clear out so that you can make space. So these strong emotions are definitely being magnified even more so when there are these kinds of energetic frequency contrasts between humans, the human race, and these cosmic energies. And that's why they're called portals. They're kind of like an entryway for an initiation for us to kind of change and shift those things that need to be changed.
How do we do that?
Yeah, so it really just comes down to first identifying what's being magnified right now. Your gold is where your triggers are. That's where you want to take a look. What are the things that are really triggering you right now? So let's say the anger, for example. If you feel that emotion for a minute and begin to sit with it, it's going to open up layers of emotion that you may not even realize that you have. It could be feelings of loneliness, feelings of disconnect, feelings of, let's say, not being heard, not being acknowledged. And those can be really, really deep programs that we've been holding for a long time. And those holding patterns are actually memorized through the nervous system because they become an automatic response to the things that we're experiencing. They're also holding patterns in the muscle system. We literally tense the muscles, memorizing how we feel the moment that we take on that anger. And every time we're triggered, we go right back to that memory. So there's a lot. The body has to do a lot of work processing all these heavy emotions. So awareness is really important. Just a moment of pause and a moment of reflection into your body, reconnection to take a look at that emotion. What is it doing in you? How is it moving? How are you storing it? And as you begin to uplift those layers, just simply by acknowledgement is an alchemical tool. And I actually did a video on this a couple days ago about key tools for alchemy and transmutation. What is transmutation? It is the taking of a very low frequency, a heavy, heavy form, taking it into a highest form, high matter of energy, high matter of frequency. Actually, less matter, more of an energy frequency. And so this alchemy process, the transmutation process, is happening when we begin to acknowledge, which releases the tension of the holding patterns in the body, nervous system, muscle system. And believe it or not, the amount of healing that people can incur just simply by acknowledging their emotions it's huge. People clear up flus, congestion from the lungs, let's say broken heart, heavy unworthiness programs, whatever it is that you're holding, digestive issues, if you're holding, feelings of disempowerment, begin to clear up just simply by acknowledging the emotions that are there. And finally, once you acknowledge the emotions, take a look at how far back that pattern is being replayed. Is this something that you literally subconsciously exist in every day of your life and not realize it? Have you been dealing with that emotion maybe for the past 3-4 years, maybe since you were 5? And if you begin to go back to those little childhood memories and you begin to notice how you took on that program, now you have the core root program that can literally change the filters of perception for you. So as you begin to uncover that, you open up a space to begin to see your experiences a little differently. And all of this work allows you to, next time you are triggered, have a pause, a very educated pause where you can refer back to these things that you've realized about yourself. And now you can choose because you understand the massive impact that those emotions have on your body, your mind, and probably your whole life. So that this is just a starting point.
Well, that starting point is a place where we sometimes need to go. And for those of us who are going through that at this time, is it a matter of grounding more? Is it a matter of meditation to get that started? Is it a matter of just trying to regain focus on what's important?
Yeah, I think it is a combination of all of them, but I think that one of the main tools is on the journey of self love is the regathering of yourself because most of the time we are depleting our life force. All of our attention is external to us. It is looking for attention, looking for love, looking for healing, looking for support, looking for abundance, looking for money. All of these externalized energies that the body and the human is just constantly committed to from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep. It's like It's the centrifugal state of existence. Remember that you are a vortex. And when your vortex is spinning in a way that you are depleting your energy outwardly, the human becomes weak, disconnected from their source, completely lack of vision, lack of discernment, lack of connection. Okay, so you're lost. You're lost. You're sick. You don't know what's happening. And people go into deep depressions, heavy emotions that are stagnant. So I guess you're starting on the journey of really loving this organism by becoming very compassionate of it and understanding the amount of suffering that it undergoes when we repeat these unconscious patterns. And the interesting thing about that is that these unconscious patterns are things that our ancestral lineage has been repeating for generations. You're going to see it in your mom and your dad. You're going to see it in your great grandparents and so on. And you're even going to see it in your partners and your children. So these are dynamics that you want to begin to just observe. And that moment of recognition and observation is life-changing. From there, how do we cultivate observation? That does require meditation, because we need to sit down and we need to cultivate the observer, which is developed by sitting in absolute stillness. The more that we cultivate a practice of stillness, the more that we begin to learn how to regulate the nervous system, grow gray matter in the brain and down the spine over time, which allows us to become a more powerful conduit. That will allow you to transmute these emotions, these heavy, heavy emotions that we have to experience as humans. That's the whole point of this dualistic experience. So I would say that it's a journey of commitment to self-love and compassion for the body. And secondly, to practice that in meditation so that we can begin to, do a little discovery work.
With 2.5 minutes to go, what causes this? Is it stress? Is it environment? Is it working conditions? Is it anxiety, depression, combination of both? All? What do you think?
So, yeah, what causes the heavy emotions, you mean, or these states of being? Okay.
Or
Yeah.
both? Both. I think that's kind of important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, these are learned programs. And something that's really interesting that I discover with my clients every single day is that a lot of these holding patterns of emotions and programs of emotions, they're not even ours. A lot of it we have learned when we were a child by seeing it modeled by a parent. Even our time in the gestation of the womb, we have taken on our mother's emotions. Let's say she was constantly stressed and afraid of life and of living and of bringing a new life into the world. She felt it was unsafe. All of those are programs that we take on. And it's very hard for the child to separate themselves from these strong imprints that surround our environment. From the age of the womb until really the age of 7, those become deep, deep programs that create our identity, our personality, and the filter of our perception. So this is why it's really important to go into these to this awareness and to catch ourselves every moment through the awareness. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling that? Is that really the way that I want to respond to this event? And where did that come from? Did that come from mom? Did that come from dad? Did that come from the event that happened last week? As you begin to unpack that, you learn about yourself. And so we want to catch those emotions as they come so that they don't catch us off guard. Because a lot of times what happens is that we're so unaware of these patterns. And then we have the law of accident coming in, and it's going to shake us up into awakening again. So the invitation for the human to have peaceful, harmonious life is to be in constant state of awareness, observing yourself and what's happening so that you don't have to always be in this constant survival state.
We have 20 seconds left before we have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Geraldine Orozco from Bay Area Meditation in San Francisco, California, is with us right now, and her website, GeraldineOrozco.com, where you can, maybe even book a session with her if you want, because she does that kind of thing. When we return from the break with Geraldine, we're going to get into the spirit. Do aliens have spirit? It's not just humans, people. plants, animals, pets, fish, trees. Everything has a spirit. We'll learn more about that with Geraldine Orozco when we return on the mighty SOR. All right, we are clear. Clear. Geraldine, your hair looks great.
Oh, thank you. You look amazing too, Dave. How have you been? I haven't seen you for 2 months, I think. It's so great to see you.
Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Horrible comment in your chat rooms from Sierra. Go vegan. Not a hope. Not a hope. That's terrible advice. Oh, I know you are. Are you eating meat yet? Or are you still the vegan?
I'm actually pescatarian now. I've become pescatarian over the past couple of years.
What the hell is pescatarian?
Eat fish.
Oh,
Fish. Yeah, I eat seafood. Seafood, well, fish. Really salmon and fish and sea bass, things like that. Yeah. I just needed a little more protein. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Good for you. I still don't eat fish.
Oh, really? You don't eat fish? Oh,
No, but I tell you, I can down a pound of chicken wings like nothing. Nothing. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. As long as you enjoy it, brings you happiness, and yeah, that's good.
Oh, it brings me happiness. It totally brings me happiness. I want to go back to that Italian restaurant you took me to.
Greek.
Or was it Greek?
Greek. Yeah, yeah. It's a very nice restaurant.
Oh,
Yeah,
I want to.
you might go somewhere better next time. I don't know if you're coming around anytime soon, but
No, I need to. Well, maybe if Lorian refires up the UFO con, I'll be there.
there
I
you
will,
go. There you go.
and then we'll go out for dinner. But
Yes.
yeah, I got to speak at a Bigfoot conference this weekend.
Oh, that's great. Where is it?
It's about 2 hours south of where I am.
Nice. It must be beautiful this time of year too.
Well, you know what? There's not much forest fire smoke around here right now,
Oh
so
my God.
that's
Great. Yeah.
so that's always nice when that happens.
That's awesome. What are you going to be
Yeah.
speaking about?
My thoughts on what Bigfoot are, and my experiences with what we found in the locations that we found. So that'll be pretty interesting.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, try to record it so we can see you. That's really exciting.
Hmm. Is Simon, is any woo allowed at the Bigfoot conference? I'm going to sneak some in. Because Dr. Jeff Meldrum is speaking there as well. So I'm going to sneak in some woo. I have to. I'll probably never be invited back again, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll have some fun with it. Now, the organizer, Sheldon's a really good guy, so I'm going to play by some rules.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Dirty Fylth, that was some good blobbing earlier.
She's just kind of hanging around my feet right now.
Yeah. That was, I think you threw Geraldine off guard a little bit there when Blob hopped up there and kind of took over your camera.
Oh, I love Blob.
She squished a little bit of my paint, but nobody can tell. It's just got more character now.
It's a footprint.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That is awesome. Looking good there, Dirty Fylth. Those hands are looking very masculine.
Oh.
Where the heck?
Never worked a day in my life, Dave.
Oh, Tell me about it. I had food in my teeth. Why didn't anybody tell me I had food in my teeth? Very rude. Rude audience. Nobody. Hey, Dave, you got some shit in your teeth there. Come on.
I don't think we can see it at all. We can't even see it.
I know. I need somebody to blame except for myself.
No.
All right. We have about 23 seconds. Still waiting for that first super chat of the night to kick us off, so that way we can brag about you. And don't forget, we got brand new swag at our Spaced Out Radio store. Nothing is ugly, people. Nothing is ugly. No ugly swag. So make sure you go shopping while you're listening to the show. Here we go, the second half hour. All right, here's the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always a pleasure to bring you the weird and the strange nightly into your radio ears. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. I have to laugh at one of our listeners, Mike Rivers here. Posts in our YouTube chat room. Dave's getting old. Grumpy is a sign. Ouch. Just Trey ouch right there. I'll take it though. Get off my lawn, Mike. Get off my lawn. And go wash your hands before you do that. Geraldine Orozco and the Spiritual You. We bring Geraldine in monthly to hang out with us, to help us fix our Zen and Chi, and we're getting into the spiritual aspect of everything. Geraldine, I know you deal a lot with ET contactees. You have your own aliens going on. You know, you put them in the shoe closet way over there if you got company or something along those lines. But the question is about spirit. Do you think extraterrestrials have spirits?
Yeah. Well, I think to understand that, I guess we have to understand what is a spirit or, a soul, I guess. Essentially, all living beings are a fractal of consciousness. They're a fractal of source. And so, depending on the density of the being, they will hold the energy and the amount of connection to source more so than others. So right now we exist in a three-dimensional plane and we hold within us, the beauty of the human is that we are incredibly multidimensional beings, that we have a soul that interconnects us to many fractals of ourselves in this universe, in a multiverse actually, in many dimensions simultaneously. And what we're doing here as humans is we are evolving, and our evolution actually is interdependent with all of these other souls, all of these other beings that are holding and consisting of this consciousness as well. So the Earth realm, actually, what we do here on this planet can be very constructive and healing and conducive to the evolution of all of these beings that we interact with. Many of these, what we see as alien species, they hold frequency. Some of them are very high frequency, some of them are very low frequency. So it really just depends on the kind of frequency that they're holding. It will define how much access they have to this core essence that they allow into them. And it is that essence that interconnects us all in this universe, us with all of these beings. That are really a part of us. They're a deep extension of ourselves that we interact with. So the short answer is yes, to different levels, to different extents, based on the construct in which they exist, based on the frequency that they hold, and based on our agreements also, because every single human has agreements with different beings, different species, and a lot of that has to do with the karmic entanglements that we have with them in this dimension and other dimensions. A lot of times we've been incarnating collectively in groups based on resonance for many generations, not just with our earth ancestors, but also interdimensional beings and species. We are also incarnating with them as family groups, which is why a lot of us identify very strongly with specific groups like Arcturian or Pleiadian, whatever it might be. We have that in our DNA. It's part of our ancestry. So those soul groups, per se, are also experiencing important information collectively for their evolution. And we are working hand in hand in that evolutionary progression. They wake us up into our awareness, and we also are providing them with evolutionary information for their evolution through the more denser frequencies of this dimension. So, yeah.
As we try and figure out what we are all about, what we are doing, and where is our spiritual grounding, are the souls connected? This is what I often wonder, if say the soul that's in a tree is the same soul that's in a blade of grass, and the same soul is in the fish in the water, same soul as an alien that's from Zeta Reticuli as a human. I know we can't prove that, but what is your theory on this?
So I think it really comes down to awareness and the awareness of consciousness. So what these beings or what these objects, like a tree, for example, how much awareness does it have of its consciousness? Now, a long time ago, we used to think trees don't have a lot of awareness at all, but we learn about the mycelia networks underneath them and the incredible amount of intelligence that they have of intercommunication and of rebalancing trees and organisms together through the mycelia, through this connection, this network. So there is a definite intelligence to these beautiful organisms. But when we talk about a soul, we're really talking about the awareness and the application of free will that that soul has. And I think that's important to differentiate these different levels of awareness, different levels of consciousness, depending on the density of matter, depending on the frequency. And of course, a tree might seem like a very physical, dense thing, but what I mean about density is frequency, because the frequency of a tree is not going to be the same as the frequency of, let's say, a draconian or a reptilian.
Right.
Okay? Right. So the frequency that maybe those species might be holding on to, a draconian that has a very, very low frequency, they thrive in that. That's what they thrive in. They exist in parasitic constructs in which that is their energetic exchange. And because of that, the more separate they are from the awareness of being a soul, being a fractal of soul, and the less they are able to affect their free will in the experiences that they're having. What is free will? If you're repeating cyclical patterns, ancestral programs for many generations, you don't have any free will. All you're doing is you're just repeating things. And this applies to all of these conscious organisms, these beings in this universe. If the being is breaking away from those cyclical patterns, which is this karmic cycle of amnesic hypnosis that we go into, with lack of awareness and disconnect from the source chord, you literally begin to become very robotic, almost like an AI. And this is how we have, these combinations of artificial intelligence, basically. You literally become like a robot, like these more mechanical like beings. And there are those beings. Many of you know, you've had interaction with ETs or interdimensional beings that are like robots. All they do is follow protocol. And that is the manifestation of a less connection to the soul, a diminishing of the soul. So the moment that becomes aware of itself, it can then come in. And this is what we're observing and studying with AI today, is at what point is AI conscious, right? So it has to do with the bioelectrical system of the body. We are bioelectrical organisms. We work in forms of spiral. The more that we become transducive and the more we become conducive of life force in the body, that speaks to the amount of awareness that we're holding, and it speaks to the amount of soul that we're able to anchor into the body. And as a result, we have more free will to choose the experiences that we're having in this dimensional plane. Now, those agreements that we make with one another through those choices, through those actions, through that awareness, defines our interconnectivity. And it's through resonance. And remember that in your DNA, you have a library of information, a library of database, which interconnects you to all living organisms. So are the souls connected? Absolutely. Absolutely. We come from one blueprint of information, but from this blueprint of information emerges the different beings and organisms that are a manifestation of life force. So we are, as humans, we need to learn how to become conducive through the awareness, reconnect back to the awareness that you are that infinite potential as the soul, so that you can begin to affect free will. And that is how you grow a soul. Literally, the soul grows, it cultivates, and all of these techniques that I'm sharing with you about growing gray matter, learning how to become conducive, transmutational alchemy, is all about the growth of a soul. The lesser your connection is to your body, to your mind, to your awareness, the less of a soul you are anchoring and harnessing in the body, the more artificial you become. Essentially transhumanists. We become transhumanists. We're completely dependent on technology, no thinking, no connecting, no free will of any kind. So yeah.
If the soul has the free will, do we get to choose what we want to incarnate as in our next lifetime? Like if all of a sudden old Davy here wanted to be a daffodil in the next lifetime, or if I wanted to be a walrus and be lazy on some pier in San Francisco dodging great white sharks, could I do that? Is that what it's about? Do I have that free will?
Well, yes. And actually, the thought and the intention that you want to become that already creates that potential timeline for you in some dimension. And remember that, it's interesting. We think that our minds are very intentional, but to be clear about what we are, really, we're nothing but a bunch of programs repeating. And so until we wake up consciousness and we really become aware of where our thoughts, where our dreams, where our intentions, where our emotions are coming from, you really don't know yourself, your true self. All you are is a product of all the things that, you've learned and seen maybe before. So that being said, you have very little creative life force which manifest in the physical dimensional plane. So the more that the human begins to find the true self, why? Because the true self is actually a frequency of creation. It is a completely different frequency. It's a completely different geometric structure in the body. The body is rotating faster. It begins to create that Merkabaic state in which the lower parts of the body, the lower chakras are beginning to redirect their life force up towards the higher faculties of your intuition, your intuitive faculties, your vision. DMT is being processed through the pineal gland. You begin to open up your dream state, which allows you to navigate into higher dimensions. So, these processes are something that the human has to become aware of. And we live more lives in our dream state than our waking state. In the dream, we're super busy, much, much busier than we are in this dream state. Right now, we're only living one couple timelines we're moving in and out of. But in dream state, it's wide open. You're traveling and you're actually existing in different lifetimes simultaneously in your dream state. So we think that death is really like a very linear timeline, but actually death and birth are quite simultaneous gateways of potential that we are experiencing simultaneously. And everything that you choose to do in this lifetime is recorded in your DNA epigenetically. You are storing emotional data and emotional memory holographically and genetically. And that defines your form. It defines how fast your body is spinning. So at the time of death, the faster that you spin, the higher the vibration, which means the more free will you have in order to dictate where you're going to incarnate next. The lower, the less connected, the slower your vortex is flowing. Let's say you're in complete terror, fear, anxiety at the time of death. It's very difficult. And this is where we have fractalization and we have ghosts, right? There is a fractalization where essence of the being gets trapped in between states, a lower state, a lower frequency state, because of the frequency of the body can't move. It reaches the ceiling energetically. So we get ghosts and we get entangled deeply in the physical of this realm. So we can choose our life the more higher vibration we become as we cultivate that through this lifetime. And the work that we do is not just about the waking, this dream state. I call it the waking state, but given from the understanding that this is also a holographic construct, given from the understanding that this is also a sort of a dream that you and I are existing in here, all of us listeners on the radio, on the YouTube, all of us, we are existing and coexisting and co-creating in a dream state. So the density of this dream state is more physical and we feel it through the sensory body. But everything that we choose to do in this moment is creating entanglements and agreements of experience. Another thing, if you don't undo the ancestral contracts that you have with your ancestral lineage, you're going to be repeating those same programs in your next lifetimes because it's a resonance. So again, the frequency that you have at the time of death defines and is reallocated by frequency, by resonance. So, if, for example, you're a murderer in this lifetime, essentially at the time of death, that's a very specific frequency. If you weren't able to alchemize that experience into a higher octave, in the next lifetime, potentially you will experience that in different ways. And these are the mechanics. And how do we come to this kind of idea is, as a hypnotherapist, I'm looking at, hundreds and hundreds of past lives, and looking at how the lessons are so beautifully constructed for every human. Every life creates an opportunity for an incredible evolution and growth. And the interconnectivity between those lifetimes, their current lifetime, and even dream state lifetimes that they're existing in, is really beautiful to see that shift. So the human is kind of have multiple opportunities to heal and shift and reintegrate from those lessons that we do choose to experience here.
I read a story online and I realized I can't believe everything I read online. But I found this very interesting, Geraldine, that people who are receivers of organ donation are actually starting to pick up habits from those whom they receive the organ from. Whether it's a craving for almonds or ice cream or the desire to go skydiving all of a sudden out of nowhere. Have you heard of this happening? Because, I think with the soul, it's all interconnected in the body. And every little piece of that body, whether it's a heart, a lung, a kidney, a toe, or whatever it may be, is connected to you spiritually. Do you think that is what's going on with these people who receive this amazing gift from those who didn't make it and are carrying on a legacy? Do they now have two spirits in their body? What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, it's so beautiful that you asked this question, and it's one of the most fascinating and exciting things that is coming and supporting the new science that's coming out about the morphogenetic field. But essentially, this really is evidence that we are holographic beings, and that the material matter of an organ, like the amount of data that holds, is more than what is just localized to the organism and the structure of that, let's say a liver. The morphogenetic field refers to the field that is the instruction manual of the form of any organism. And so what that means is that our data bank of creation, of creativity and form is not just localized to the more solid matter, but also extends out into a field, a network of information, which is all constructed through bioelectricity. We're bioelectrical beings, organisms. And so our organs have bioelectricity. They all have toroidal fields around them. And, that's been tested a lot. I mean, the heart is the largest magnetic field in the body, but every single organ also has magnetic field. That magnetic field is holding memory. It's holding memory and it's holding information through that bioelectricity. Actually, how we restore memory is by becoming more conducive, right? You begin to remember your past lives. You begin to remember your dreams when you become more awake. So in this example of the organ, and I've heard hundreds of these stories by now, and I've researched so many of them. They are just unbelievable. But this organ holds the memory of the human through the DNA. The DNA is holding that information, and it can hold immediate information, like what the human did last week. I remember, I think one of my clients, I think it was her husband or her brother, I can't remember, years ago now. They had just had a transplant, and they had this really strong feeling that they had to call their husband, but this was a man, and they were taking the organ of a woman. And he just had this constant feeling, I have to call my husband, like for like weeks and weeks. And it was bothering him so much that he couldn't get it out, that, he went back to the doctor and said, "Hey, I have this weird memory. Do you know what's happening?" And the doctor laughed, because he didn't believe that. But they were somehow they were able to connect it with the donor, which was a woman. And the woman had been needing to call her husband, but she was avoiding it because of some things that were happening. And so it was so funny because the woman that donated this organ, like that memory, even just that one thought that just happened right before the surgery, was memorized inside the organ to the point where the donor took it on and recovered that memory. So, these are networks of information, and it's the most beautiful proof that you understand that every single one of your organs is processing emotional data. Your entire body is an interconnected network system of memory. And so the more you're aware of the emotions that you're having and why you're having them, the more you can create harmony in the body and things begin to work together. Now, in pranic, I am a medical pranic healer, by trade. I went to get certified in that. And one of the things that we learn how to do is to clear the energy from the organs before they're transplanted in a way that it's harmonious. Because in the same way that those organs go in the body with memories, sometimes those organs don't work well with the entire organism of the human, and the body wants to reject the organ, doesn't want to accept it in the body. So that's also another thing to keep in mind. The frequency of that organ, the emotions that are stored there, are going to be transferred into the person.
The genetic memory that goes along with that, I can't imagine what it would be like having two souls in your body at once. What it would be like having two spirits. I mean,
Yeah. So, sorry, Dave, go ahead.
oh, please, if you want to answer, we've got about a minute to go.
Yeah, sorry, and I meant to get to that. So basically, DNA is the construct in which the soul anchors into. Okay, so the soul anchors into the DNA. The DNA, the human body, is a holographic projection that comes from the DNA, and the DNA is what anchors that infinite potential from the soul. So it's not that the soul is put into the body, but it's like a hologram of the soul, of the information of the DNA is what's inserted into the body. And obviously, the body, but the contractual agreement between the two people, the donor and the receiver, there is a major soul tie between them. And another thing interesting that I noticed is that a lot of the karmic triggers that they have, there's always a resonance energetically with the two people, that the one that is donating and the one that is receiving. There's some kind of resonance, which means that they have some similar subconscious programming, and there's a reason why the information is being exchanged.
Geraldine Orozco, we have her for another hour here on Spaced Out Radio. We will try and get to some audience questions in hour number 2. So if you're in our YouTube chat, make sure you go and put your questions in capital letters, and I will try and get them to Geraldine. When we return with Geraldine, I got this weird story about a friend of mine. I talked to her a few weeks ago. She's a twin, and she thinks that her sister left her body and was replaced by another soul. We'll get to Geraldine on that in hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio right after this. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Geraldine, we got about 5.5 minutes, so I will turn this over to Fylth, and he can break down his art. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Beautiful.
Dirty Fylth, hey, you unmute your microphone.
Yes, I'm getting smart, Dave.
Right on.
I put notes down. Oh, hi, everybody. I have to go down to the new comments so I can see what everyone's doing. Okay, yes. So I decided to draw. This is actually a drawing that Spookles, the cat, decided it should draw. Because I showed her my javelin toss one yesterday. That's classic. Nothing like a little bit of gore. So yes, I figured it'd probably pretty cruel to do high blob to do a discus toss for a dog man, because he probably hates chasing things actually. I forgot to color his mouth in. That's all right. Hope everybody's having a good evening tonight. It was, hi Jessica S. Who's getting relatively slimy in here. It's still pretty warm. So when I'm drawing, I gotta get my little discus. It's the discus toss. You know, they take the disc and they do a spin and a half and throw it. I think the world record holder is something like 200 meters or feet. I can't remember. 200 meters or feet. It's probably just, let me have a quick check here. I think it was by some German guy. The world record is 243 feet and 11 inches by a Lithuanian guy. Michaelis Alekna. Probably said that wrong, but that's all right. What's a Canadian thing? I don't know. Oh, it's Olympics. I don't even actually watch the Olympics. It's just easy stuff to draw. Why is it all blurry? What the hell? Stupid. Probably got cat grease on it. Good point, Sierra. Canadians are strange when that, because we have the metric system, but I work in a warehouse, so all the shipping and receiving and all that stuff, when we ship things, it's always inches and pounds. It doesn't make any sense. And then we do things like we measure distance and time. For instance, where's Jasper? Well, that's about a 4-hour drive. We don't ever say like 400 kilometers or something. I'm the babysitter. All right. I'm going to give everybody snacks, get you hocked up on sugar, and leave you with Dave. Actually, funny story, when I was a kid, my mom fed me a whole bunch of prunes and left me with my grandma for the evening. Grandma wasn't very impressed with that. Well, yeah, I fall upstairs. I have a bad habit of that. Actually, my stairs into my basement are unusually longer or taller than normal 4 gigabytes west of Regina. But yeah, it's weird. The stairs going to the basement, the stairs are a little bit taller. So everybody's always bashing their toes and stuff into it. It's kind of funny. My friends always complain about it. But I'm like, well, Watson, you're like 9,000 beers in. So how are you not stumbling into it, you weirdo? 4 gigabytes west of Regina. That sounds like the idea for like a comic or something. I've actually got a whole bunch of extra drawings. I'm working on my calendar as we speak currently. I've got October and December already drawn. Here's a sneak peek at the drawings. This is going to be the December one. It's going to be an alien making fun of the man in black. And then confusion with the gray aliens. Stanton's can just be all, what are you, some kind of well-dressed goat sucker? Carl's like, I'm a vampire, Stanton. Because the gray aliens aren't quite accustomed to all the human
looking good, filthy
interactions and junk. Anyways, I'm rambling away here, Dave. I apologize.
No, you ramble. It's your time, man. It's your free commercial.
I'm the babysitter.
You are. You
okay,
are.
Have a good night.
All right. Dirty Fylth, thank you for your amazing art. Once again, we'll see you tomorrow, buddy. And give Blob a little scratch on the head for all of us, if you don't mind.
Cat snacks for everyone.
Right on. Right on. Thank you tonight to Kira, JSCO, and Major Lee for the super chats. We greatly appreciate the love and support. Thank you to all our new subscribers who've hit subscribe and follow on our social media platforms. And of course, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. We just put up a bunch of new products that we think you'll like. A couple of funny ones in there, too. Have a sense of humor and enjoy them. Hi, Marty Burback. How you doing? Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott, and we always appreciate you joining in and putting the tinfoil on wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We'll get back to Geraldine Orozco in a minute for hour number 2. But first, I want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Basebane. Basebane is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, Geraldine Orozco is with us. The Spiritual You continues. Her website's GeraldineOrozco.com. And Geraldine, I got to tell you about this weird phone call I had with one of our former guests a couple weeks ago. She is a twin. Okay, her and her sister, they're darn near identical. And her sister said to her one day, you know, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to live anymore. And it wasn't that she was looking at taking her life or anything like that. It had nothing to do with that. She was just like, I just feel like I'm done. I'm done with this planet. I'm done with everything. I just want to go away and enjoy the spiritual world. And all of a sudden she was saying over the next few days, the next time she met up with her sister was different. It was like her sister had her soul leave her body and a new soul came in, to the point where she was talking a little bit differently. She acted a little bit differently. Have you heard of this happening before, where the spirit is just like, you know what? I just want to leave. I just want out. And maybe, you know, give my the rest of this incarnation as a human to someone else, but I'm going to go project myself into the universe and let somebody else finish up the job here. Have you ever heard of that before?
Yeah, I have a lot. They call them walk-ins, walk-in soul, because the soul walks in, a new soul walks in. But so the way I look at this and the way that they propose it is that, a completely different soul comes into the body, takes over, and that's why they're completely different. But something that I've kind of looked at, working with clients in hypnosis, and also working with DNA reprogramming, because we go down into core programs, and a lot of times we find these feelings like, I don't want to live anymore, I don't want to be here, or something like this. Usually that is a very strong intention. It's a very powerful. Words are incredibly powerful. Our intention is incredibly creative. Okay. So when we begin to have that intention to want to leave the body, sometimes the body has the option of doing that, because remember that, we are connected to many fractals of ourselves. And so a lot of times what happens is that one fractal, their contract, their agreement with all of the beings around them are finished. It's done. And another fractal of themselves now can re-enter the body in order to continue. But it's my humble opinion, based on the work that I've done with my clients, that I believe it's the same soul. I don't feel that it's a different soul, because soul is not an identity. Here on the human earth, we think of identities and things that we like and how we manage the world, how we deal with the real world. But in the energy world, it's about frequency. Okay. So a human essence, we're talking about the essence, has many ranges of frequencies. And those ranges of frequencies of ourselves are kind of experiencing many dimensions simultaneously. And we visit, we remember them, we recall them, we integrate them during dream state, during our healing times and processes. And the different levels of our evolution of our souls have the ability to anchor into this body for the experience. So sometimes we can invite these higher aspects of ourselves, or maybe even lower aspects of ourselves too, in order to continue this life and continue the experience in this terrestrial realm. And everything will be different. The food that we desire will be different. The way that we, talk will be different. The way that we, hold space, our belief systems, everything will be completely different. And the old part of us will feel like a very far away, distant memory. It will feel like something that we know of, but we can't really relate to. We can't even connect to that part of us. And that is how the human has experiences of ascension or de-ascension in themselves. So this is the way I tend to look at that. But it is a very real thing that a lot of people have experienced. And it's important to remember that we are one. That's very important. That's one law of the universe that is irrefutable in a sense. Because if we understand that unity, that we are one, it's the souls as well. The soul is one infinite potential that refracts into infinite, possibilities and manifestations as a physical body.
So can you just say, as your soul, I'm done. I'm fed up. My life isn't going very well. I just want to leave. And all of a sudden, put a for rent sign up in the spiritual world that, hey, this body is available for a limited time at $1,000 a month. I don't know. That's cheap rent these days. But how does it work? How do you just say, hey, I want out. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to, move my spirit on to whatever my next incarnation is going to be. And, hopefully it's, a nice eagle soaring or something along those lines. I don't get it. It baffles me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting, but as you can see, like we are incredibly interdependent, because we are one. We have interdependent agreements with one another. And so we make contractual agreements with all the people that we're living with, experiencing with, interacting with. We are teaching and we are learning. We are growing and interacting through our interrelationships. So until you have chosen, now you can access free will by coming into profound awareness. And sometimes these major transformations happen when you realize that this life is just no longer in alignment with you, no longer in alignment. You're ready for change. You're done with the way, and that requires a little bit of realization. You have to realize that why the dynamics between you and others are not working anymore for you, because that realization is a vibrational frequency that fuels this alchemical transformation of the human. Because remember, when this new essence, part of your essence, enters into the body, everything changes. So there's a lot of biochemistry, bioelectricity that has to change, because the way our body memorizes emotions, thoughts, feelings, reactions. And when we have a situation like this, everything changes almost as if overnight. There's a major change. So there's a major frequency change that is happening in the body for this, and it can be done. It can be done. So the human that begins to anchor this new being in them, then once they decide that those agreements with the people around them are no longer, then it can be done. And they can access a higher essence of them to come in and experience life differently. And usually what happens is that all of their relationships fall apart, all of their old relationships fall apart. They cannot resonate with anyone anymore. Sometimes wives cannot deal with their husband anymore. They end up in divorce, separation. It's a different mothering technique with their children. Everything changes. Yeah.
Okay. So what is the difference between, say, calling for your soul to decide that, hey, I don't want to be here anymore, let's have another soul rent the body for the remainder of the life? What's the difference between that and then, say, somebody who, and I got to be careful with today's political correctness, but somebody who decides to unlive themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because we have to use those stupid terms now instead of talking in proper English, right?
Yeah, no, that's it's very important to know the difference between that, because there's very different karmic side effects to each of those intentional choices, those intentions and those choices. So first of all, remember that when you leave your body, so a lot of times when the body becomes unlivable, we actually spend the majority of the time outside of our body. We spend the most of the time up here. We're afraid of our emotions. We're afraid of the truth. We're afraid of our life. We're in denial of our life. And what happens with the body is that it becomes, because you become a parasite, because you let go of your free will, you let go of your ability to anchor into this body and feel fully the difficult challenges of life and alchemize them into change and transformation. When you let that go, the body becomes parasite. It becomes parasitized, and you also become a parasite. And so we have holes in the body, in the field. The energetic body becomes ripped, teared open. That allows other entities to come and dwell in your energetic space. It's by frequency, by resonance. So that's something that we have to be aware of. And when we are going towards suicide, usually that is a body. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to say that.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead. I
Yeah.
don't mind.
Sorry. So yeah, anytime that we choose to end ourselves in that way, usually there is a lot of entities and heavy, dense energies in the body that is counter creative. That's what that is. It is a product of counter creativity. There are agreements. Some people choose that as a life experience. That's part of the journey. And it's not just including them, it's including all of the individuals that participate in their family, because all of them will be impacted by that choice. So these are very strong agreements. We have to understand how deeply interconnected we are. The cause and effect of our choices will affect, in a ripple effect, the entire organism, the entire system. In addition to the vibrational frequency that you're experiencing at that time, it's a counter creative cycle. So more chances of you becoming a ghost as a result of that kind of transaction, because it's a severe trauma to the energetic body. And there's a complete disconnect of the soul, which doesn't allow for that transduction to occur at the time of death to be able to enter into a higher octave. So that complete dissonance of energy that is occurring at the time of moving from the physical body out, in a severe sense of depression, hopelessness, those are all super strong vibrational frequencies. They're very strong, slow moving wavelengths. And again, as I mentioned earlier, your vortex is not spinning high. To have a productive death, the vortex has to spin at a very high rate in a state of implosion, which is the bliss state. It's the bliss state of connection, that ecstasy, that ecstatic state of embodying source as yourself. And that is a completely different experience. So the side effects of those karmically are different. The way that you transition into your next experience is going to be different. And the impact karmically that you have with the humans here on earth is going to be different, because now you've created karma, not only for yourself, but for others. Cause and effect, ripple effect of that choice. So it's very different. And also, when we're talking about the walk-in, this is the same physical body, usually upgrading into a higher octave of experience. So there's the same physical vessel is existing in the planet Earth. No one unalived themselves. No one. It's just a transition of frequencies that the body is sustaining. And oftentimes these are agreements that the soul has made in this lifetime in order to live this and experience the duality of this life, and also to heal many people, because a lot of these people that have these kinds of transitions, they begin to remember a lot, and they provide a lot of service to other humanity through this powerful contrast of an experience.
Geraldine Orozco is with us tonight on Spaced Out Radio, and we're talking about soul flipping. Can you all of a sudden just jump out of your body and allow another soul to take over? What about during astral travel or out of body experiences? Can another soul out there recognize that you were out of your body and then come back and take your body over? Is that possible?
So it would be like a possession type of situation. Possessions are possible, but only with your allowance. So only with the person consenting to that. Now, the tricky thing about consent is that because of the laws of the universe and the way that we hold energy and frequency, and again, because we're so unconscious, and this is why being conscious and aware is so vital to you in your life experience, is that when you're unaware, and if your level of awareness is really, really just disconnected from your body, your emotions, you don't know what's happening. It's very easy to make these agreements with parasitic beings that you don't even know. And this is why a lot of times when you're going through your ascension, it is natural for every human to see ETs or interdimensionals, whatever you want to call them, extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call them, interdimensional manifestations of other life forms. It is part of the human experience. We are designed to interact interdimensionally. It's part of our makeup. So when that opens up for the human, a lot of times, because we don't have enough education about how to hold space, we forgot the lost arts of the connection to the earth, which allows us to learn this. We begin to just get afraid. And that fear that we creates a major disconnect between the frequency of the physical vessel and the astral body. And that's a problem, because it can create fractalization. And this is where people start to have parasitic experiences, like even things like militaristic type involvement, reptilian, draconian experiences, where the body it begins to deteriorate, and the body goes lower into depression and helplessness and disconnect and fear, paralyzing fear. Those are filters of parasitic attachments that have to be removed in order for the person to see things clearly. And so if our fear is consent, basically. That's the problem. The fear becomes the consent. Because in that fear, we don't have the ability. That fear is literally a contractual signature. It's a vibrational signature that makes you a magnetic match to these parasitic beings. And of course, they're welcome in the body. And usually when you see the body, because, you know, if you're psychic and you begin to develop your vision, when you see people that are depressed, when you see people that are having really parasitic ET contact, for example, or interdimensional attacks, or even military, like my lab attacks, those are a vibrational frequency. So that has to be parsed through. It has to be cleared through the body. And usually when you clear that up, all of a sudden the human elevates from that experience.
The old human elevation. We're not talking riding an escalator up to the top here. As the spirit goes, when the spirit releases itself from the human body, and if something else is able to take over, like a possession or something along those lines, can the spirit that's watching this happen come back and reattack itself to get its body back? Or do they now have to go find a different body to, you know, keep their human survival going?
Yeah, amazing question. Well, this is where things get interesting. You see, every single human is a little micro universe to themselves. And the way that every single individual human perceives this multiverse is going to be based on their frequency and all of the navigations that they've experienced as a soul, and are experiencing as a soul in multiple dimensions simultaneously. So what that means is that the perceptions, the filters of perception that are in this human are going to define the kind of entities and attachments that they attract, because we are one, because those entities and attachments are lower aspects, extensions of their own organism in another dimension. Okay, we literally are meeting ourselves. It can be our less evolved self, it could be a higher evolved self, but in reality we are one. So based on that understanding, now that entity might have its own life, its own essence, its own frequency, and you might not be aware of that. But the thing is that the more aware you become, remember, in the alchemical process of healing, what do we do when we find these entities? We recognize them, we see them, and when we transcend the fear that we have of the entity, we begin to recognize that, hey, the root feeling of that entity, let's say the entity is feeding off your, let's say, for example, sex drive. It's feeding off this lusty feelings and emotions. Okay, so when you notice that that parasite has attached to the body through an exchange, a sexual energy exchange that was not a high vibration exchange. This happens a lot, right? You have intercourse with someone, you don't realize, you don't know your intention. Your intention is coming from loneliness, disconnect, sadness, and
Right.
so is the other person, and so entities are exchanging. Okay, and you take on their emotion, and now you are even more of a home for more parasites of that frequency. So what do we do in that case? We have to identify the frequencies, identify the core emotions that you're feeling in that moment, begin to alchemize them. And what you discover is that that entity, when you connect with it, it actually had the core belief of complete loneliness, disconnect itself in that essence. And you recognize yourself in that being. That's the resonant frequency that made you a match to intake that being to begin with. We can take those entities out. What happens to the entity? Energy never disappears. It never dies. It only transmutes. That energy has to be transmuted into unconditional love, which means that it's reintroduced to source as source itself. We have to introduce it. And we do that to ourselves too. We have to introduce ourselves from that lonely state of separation back into the reconnection of the alchemical marriage internally, where we become the source of our love, healing, protection, all of those things that we were searching externally. So that alchemization process helps us to understand the interconnectivity that we have with entities. This technique of healing is working with ETs, reptilians, draconians, all of these parasitic systems. We have a way of alchemizing that.
We have Geraldine Orozco till the top of the hour on Spaced Out Radio. When we return, audience questions. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, we're clear. Flying on by tonight.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, already 10:29.
I know. I had to live through a couple days of 100-degree weather here.
Wow, really hot. Is
I
that
was like,
new for you guys?
I was like, damn you, Geraldine. No. It was hot.
That's what you get for talking smack about my California weather. Oh,
Hey, my favorite temperatures are just around the corner.
yeah. Enjoy them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I am manifesting good winter temperatures this year.
Yeah, I hope our winter is nice over here. Thankfully, there hasn't been too many fires here. It hasn't been that hot, but it's pretty warm. It's pretty warm. Yeah. We haven't even gotten to Indian summer though. Indian summer is October for us over here. September, October.
I hope it snows like at least 6 feet this year coming up.
That's awesome.
I want a lot of snow.
Yeah.
There's nothing more fun than calling my son outside and saying, "Hey, buddy, need your help here." And he goes, "What?" And I'll be like on my snowblower, and then I'll point the snowblower to him and hit him with a bunch of snow.
Oh my God, that's so fun. I'm sure you guys have a blast.
Yeah, that thing shoots out a lot of snow. So
Yeah.
it's kind of fun.
Hey, I saw your post on Instagram about this film that you did with Samantha. How fun is that? What is that? When is that out?
Well, we've got the Sizzler, and we're just waiting to put like a little biography package together that we can start sending it out.
That's so fun. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, we I'm never going back there at night again.
Oh God. Oh no.
Night number 1, nothing happened. Night
Uh-huh.
number two, nothing happened. We packed up camp, had to go back to my house to recharge batteries, went back for the third evening, and we got stalked.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, we got stalked, and it was not very fun. And we had one that was following us through the trees, probably the same guy, following us through the trees. We couldn't see him. It led to a fresh print of about 17 inches.
Wow.
And about 15 minutes later, we made our way back to base camp. And our armed guard, Mark, was walking around the perimeter while we were, getting the filming and everything ready for the next thing we wanted to shoot. And there was from the time we left to the time we got back 20 minutes, there was another fresh 17-inch track.
Wow.
Right in our camp.
Wow.
So we followed the trail up, not very far, like maybe 20 feet, 30 feet.
Yeah.
And there was this long, about 7.5 foot, 8 foot staff that was left leaning against a tree. Now, what's interesting about that staff is there was a handprint on it that looked wet. Okay. We had prior to us having this encounter, we had about an hour's worth of torrential rain.
Wow.
That stick should have been soaking wet.
Huh.
It wasn't. It was dry. And the other weird part about it was it looked like it came from the ground, like it was planted in the ground, because there was fresh dirt on the bottom of it.
Hmm.
And it was in the exact same spot where in 2018 Merle had one stalk him by about 15, 20 feet behind him, making noise.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was nuts. And then later on, I think we had worn out our welcome, and they were not happy, and you could hear them going through the trees, like
Uh-huh.
surrounding us.
Yeah.
That's when we got the heck out.
Oh my gosh. So, but were you guys able to connect and communicate or anything, or they just got a little territorial?
They got territorial on us. All
Interesting.
right, Geraldine, hold on right there. Thank you, Kira, JSCO, and Major Lee for the super chats. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag. No ugly swag. Geraldine wouldn't allow it. Here we go, everyone. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Geraldine Orozco is here. We have her till the top of the hour. We'll bring her back here momentarily on the mighty SOR. But first, I want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website as we welcome in Geraldine Orozco for the final half hour of her segment here on Spaced Out Radio that we call The Spiritual You. Geraldine, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a joy to be here with all of you.
I know. We got into some weird stuff tonight. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
it
lie.
was fun. It was great.
It was weirdly awesome. Now, be honest. How much tinfoil do you wear? How
Every
much
day.
tin? Yes. Mm-hmm. Do you have tinfoil hat or tinfoil shoes? Be honest.
I have tinfoil bodysuit, tinfoil hat, the whole 9 yards.
I love it. I love it. Now you're coming around. Now you're
Hey.
coming around. Let's get to some audience questions right now. Start off with Simon. Actually, he's got a bunch of them. Geraldine, if we have agreements already, then aren't we just going through the motions here in life?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. So technically, yes, and again, that's the invitation is to end those cyclical patterns. That is the unconscious state of the human. When the human is in an unconscious state, all they're doing is repeating patterns. So just look at your life, for example. How many of your experiences do you see repeated in your relationships, in interactions with mother, that reflects into the interaction with the divine feminine, with other females or other males? A lot of us are just repeating programming. And until the human becomes aware of that programming and begins to wake up consciousness, interrupt those patterns, and create a new way of being outside of those old narratives that we keep repeating, now we are becoming an actual creator. That's what it really means to become a co-creator. And it's a completely different way of being. So all of you that are working on that work, you guys are pioneers, because there isn't very many examples of that on this planet Earth right now. We have the idea of all of the sages in history that have demonstrated the abilities of the higher faculties of the human, such as Jesus, for example, or all these amazing sages through history. All of these examples, those are examples of the potential that the human body has to access, of the co-creative abilities. So These are things that are available to human, and we are paving the way. Okay. And the human really doesn't have free will until they begin to embody that 0 point, that neutral state of observation that now becomes a co-creative power. That's actually the whole point. Yeah, it's an amazing question.
All right, let's continue on here with Simon again. If we have soulmates, how can I attract mine in this life?
Yeah, so the concept of soulmates is something that humans are so attached to. And the truth is, we're all each other's soulmates, number one, okay? But what brings us together are the contractual agreements, as we just talked about, okay? So remember, the funny thing about humans is you realize that we have certain localized relationships. There are certain people that we attract based on our frequency. It's all about resonance. What are the core programs? If you intend to call in a partner, make sure that you're aware of the things that are triggering you in your life, because relationships, which are the externalizing of unification, are always going to trigger the deepest parts of your shadow that you still have not seen. Always. That's what relationships are for. They are for the invitation of ascension. And you can do that ascension work alone, or you can choose to do it with a partner. So there, and of course, there's many other elements of that, including when there is actual union with the other partner. That's another element that we are just learning as a human race. What does it really mean to have a constructive union, for example? So those are things that we are learning to love. We have to learn how to love ourselves first to even begin to be able to be compassionate enough to love another human. And from there, we become two whole universes that are co-creating together. That's the ideal. And that is a very hard ideal to hold, because many of us, we still have many parts of us that we don't want to see, we don't want to look at. And that's what those relationships are going to be coming in for. So here's the thing. If you want to attract someone into your life, first of all, take a look at all the programs that you have against love. How comfortable are you with intimacy? How comfortable are you with being seen raw for everything that you are? Your deepest, darkest parts of you, the parts that you are ashamed of, parts that you are afraid of, those are going to be what will be the magnetic factor that will bring in the partner. So my invitation is to begin to look at those parts. And as you clear up the fear of intimacy, the fear of union, and the fear of that connection and love, you will be able to open up energetic space in your body to attract another human. Okay. And we want to hopefully attract a human from the higher octave rather than the lower parts of us. So survival, fear, loneliness, number one thing that most humans attract out of loneliness. And then, they have all these karmic relationships. Okay. So take a look at that and see what you can open up there.
Get some romance in the air. That's what she's saying. Try a different cologne. Get yourself a new pair of socks. And damn it, starch those slacks. Starch them. That's what you need to do. A good starching.
There you go, Dave. Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? And when in doubt, don't forget to brush your teeth, because that always helps too. All right. And swipe right every now and again, because you got to talk about the new dating scene online. All right. Moving on. Let's go to toe tag. Geraldine, can you describe what a spiritual walk-in is?
Yeah, well, I think we kind of did that already, if I'm not mistaken. That's really what we were talking about earlier today, is when a soul is coming into the body. So I would say a fractal of your soul is available to take on a different part of your human experience. And some people have multiple contracts of the kinds of experiences they're going to be having with other different kind of circles of people. And so they have maybe 3 near-death experiences, and each one of those near-death experiences, they wake up a completely different person. in order to have different kinds of relationships, different lessons, different ascension opportunities. But it is all one soul working through different aspects of themselves, different ranges of frequency, different spectrums of themselves, essentially. So I hope, and we talked a lot about that earlier today. I hope that answers the question.
All right, let's continue on. One more from Simon here.
Yeah.
How do we know we are on the right path to complete our contract?
Yeah. So when we talk about contracts, what is a contract? A contract is an experiential agreement. Okay. So in the seventh chakra, we hold the agreement that we have with our higher self. It is the higher octave of this human body. In the eighth chakra, we hold the agreement that we have with Source. Okay. So your source, the infinite source that creates that soul essence that embodies into this physical body, that is the one that you want to kind of work with and identify, because that's the one that became a resonant match to the incarnation into your family, to the incarnation into the life experiences that you have and everything that you're experiencing here. It all unfolds from there. In terms of a contract or a purpose, in reality, we don't have one agreement or one purpose. Our first purpose, perhaps, is the evolution of the soul as it reunifies from a state of separation at the time of birth through the birth canal, where we separate from that source, we go into this hypnosis. And the more that the soul is de-evolved over generations and generations, let's say they have 3 lifetimes of suicide, a couple lifetimes of severe traumas and pain, the more that they have these kinds of traumatic lifetimes, when they incarnate into this life, the less they remember, the more they're unconscious and they're more in that hypnosis. The more the soul begins to wake up every lifetime incrementally, little more, little more, little more, by the time the soul is incarnating, it remembers more of itself. And so right now we're at a very beautiful time in this evolutionary cycle where these children are waking up with a lot of that memory. And we see that. What's her name? Dolores Cannon talked about it in her waves of children, the indigo, the rainbow, all those children. And we continuously are having different waves of consciousness emerging into this earth. Each one of those is a clearer and clearer understanding of what they're here to do. And it's all about the reunification of this human vessel, the non-physical with the physical. It's the alchemical marriage. So we are literally living an experience in order to do that. And your job is to find out in what ways in your lifetime are we separate and split still? In what ways do we embody the split from the soul, from your infinite potential, and the human body? And gently, compassionately re-emerging these parts of ourselves until we become this essence, this embodied essence, the God in this physical body, the co-creator in this physical body. So within that construct, you're going to have all kinds of experiential agreements with parents, with partners, with your children, with your neighbors. We have experiential agreements based on your frequency. Every time you begin to change your frequency, your agreements begin to shift as you are consciously eliminating them. So in the work that I do, breaking karmic contracts is the number one technique to begin to move fluidly through this ascension process. And it's something that I teach people to do on my YouTube, utilizing your crown chakra, running energy through the body, running earth cosmic energy, source cosmic energy into the body in order to clear out these agreements, flush out the energy body, to open space, to grow your life force for co-creation, and to allow you to cultivate the 0 point by breaking those contractual agreements. This will help you remember who you are, which allows you to recover your memory of this purpose, this higher essence, the higher experience of reunification that you specifically, which is embedded with gifts. intuitive abilities, qualities that only you have through your DNA, through your genetic embedding of your source, is a very unique frequency of co-creation. So every single human has a very unique frequency of co-creation. So to uncover that requires this unpacking. So, yeah.
All right. We are going to go to Itzy Zaza here.
Hi,
Can
Itzy.
one soul exist in the same time period together? So, for example, in the child and the parent?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. Well, even though in the cellular memory of the body, both the mother and the child, we are holding the same genetic information, the essence of that child is different from the mother. Okay. And of course, we are always one, which means we are all one giant consciousness. But the essence of this individual child will be separate. The child has different history. It has different memory that it can access. It has different agreements. And the way that it perceives its agreements with the mother and vice versa depends on the filters that are still, on this being, on this organism. Did that soul reincarnate many times? Absolutely. Why? Because every single cycle of reincarnation, we make agreements with one another. And depending on how those agreements are charged with either good frequency, expansive, remember that actually ultimate love actually represents freedom, love. Real love is free, it's open, it's completely fluid energy that's an open exchange. So the more contracted that energy is, the more attachment we have to one another, the more intimate this soul entanglement becomes every cycle. And that's why when you look at your past lives, you realize, oh, my great grandmother was my husband in my past life, or these kinds of switching of roles in order to carry out the contractual agreements that we have made with one another. And the invitation is to become aware. You become aware. What is the agreement? Once you become aware of that agreement, usually the karma and the pain and suffering in between the two relationships begins to dissolve, in the same way that with a mother and child, their relationship becomes very cohesive, very co-creative, very conducive to the growth. But it requires a lot of awareness to begin to understand what are we doing and why we're doing that with our relationship. Thank you, Itzy.
Okay, let me do a follow-up on that because, I look at my own children and I know that they have their own souls. Okay, but do I know their souls from previous lifetimes, and will I know their souls in the future? Are we always interconnected?
Yeah, so we are, because we are one. But the way that we're interconnected depends on the choices that we make in this lifetime. The more dense, the more trauma there is between two souls, the more they seem to contract with one another in stronger, more intimate ways each time. Okay. So an example of that would be, someone's brother in this lifetime, the next lifetime, it's the husband. Let's say they had a lot of trauma within the siblings. Now it's the husband. It's an intimate union. Let's say in another lifetime, it was a great great grandma, far away. And then next lifetime, it's the wife. Okay. So every lifetime, these unions become more and more intimate until there is that alchemical implosion of reunification, of love that alchemizes the relationship. And that's what relationships are for. Just take a look at some of your past relationships, let's say with your partners, and notice the lessons that you've learned from those. We grow tremendously from those intimate relationships. They are the most alchemizing of our lifetimes in intimate relationships. And with our children, think about that. You have an entire life that you are combined with this child, grows into an adult, and you're always there with them. So there's a very strong contractual agreement there of learning. So if you create karma, which means suffering for each other, through each other, with each other, it becomes more and more stronger, that bond, over time. That would be the law of resonance. And the roles might be different next lifetime. the frequency of the trauma is what will carry on, because that is genetically inherited in this genetic code, which is in the Akashic record of the planet Earth. We store that information. So you have to be aware of that, and we have to be careful. What are we storing with our everyday actions? It's not so much that it doesn't matter. It does matter a lot, everything that we do every day.
All right. We got 5 minutes to go here before we have to say good night to you on Spaced Out Radio. And I always love it when you're here. I do. There's just you're like that nice warm blanket that we all need every once in a while. That's what you are.
Oh, Dave, thank you. As always, it is an honor to be here with you and everyone that's here. And yeah.
I know we got like 4.5 minutes here.
Yeah.
As we continue the soul talk, I guess for me, bringing back that whole alien thing.
Yeah.
Do aliens recognize our souls in connection to contact? Do they have a key or a library or a Rolodex of all the souls that are interconnected?
Yeah. Well, the example that I gave earlier, that literally they are our future selves potentially, or our past selves. We are so deeply interconnected with them. They are in our genetic memory. Some of my clients, they have been for generations connecting with the blue beings, for example, or the Pleiadians. You can take a look at family groups like the Hopis that talk about the Pleiadians. Generations and generations, that's their connection. So that's in their genetic memory. So that's who vibrational frequency they are connected to, attaching to, and it's through the DNA. Everything is in the DNA. It becomes a holographic projection. That projection is experienced and navigated when we enter into deeper states of consciousness, like healing states or meditation or sleep in dream state. That's when we begin to navigate that. So, yeah.
Weird. So literally, the aliens could have a Rolodex on us.
Pretty much. The DNA is the Rolodex.
No
The
kidding.
DNA is basically the Rolodex, and so is the planet Earth, because the planet Earth has its own DNA, which is the Akashic record. And every solar system has its own DNA. The sun has its own DNA and history. And every single sun, including the Pleiades, Alcyon being the sun of that constellation, that has its own DNA. That's why the organisms of those planets, the different solar systems, have different body shapes based on their energetic construct. But that's all memory based on the form and that is kept within that cellular memory.
How do we know what our DNA is? Because there are different strands of DNA.
Oh yeah, we have many strands of DNA for us as humans, but there's way more that we don't even know. Actually. Organisms of higher intelligence, higher consciousness, some of those have 48 strands of DNA, 50 strands of DNA. So we, for example, we're only familiar with our DNA, and as we activate that DNA, we are going to become a new human race. We're going to evolve. That's going to be part of our evolutionary process, that the genetic structure of our organism will change at some point in the history as we are evolving.
I need some of that. Lord knows I'm running out of DNA as we speak.
You are infinite potential in the living flesh.
Oh, you are just way too kind. Way too kind. Do me a favor. We got just over a minute to go here. And once again, as I always love to tell you, I'm always so thankful when you get to come on this show once a month. We've been doing this for, almost 8 years.
Yeah.
Almost years. You've been with us here on Spaced Out Radio, and you're one of my favorite. You really are. Do me a favor. Tell everybody where they can find your website, your YouTube channel, and book an appointment with you.
Yeah, so definitely join me if you are available on Thursday for the Lionsgate. I'm going to be hosting a group hypnosis event to access your higher self and to open up some of that stagnation in the heart for coherence. So if you're available, check out the link. I'll put the link in the chat for you. It's Lionsgate, and you can find it on my website at geraldineorozco.com. And if you want a private session with me, hypnotherapy or DNA reprogramming, you can book directly through my website, and I'll be super happy to work with you one-on-one. Also, I'm doing a challenge right now, a life force running energy challenge of 30 days. Everything I just talked about in these techniques, you're doing with me live on my YouTube channel. So check that out. My YouTube is Geraldine Orozco. And as always, it was an honor to be here with you and to connect, and all my love.
All right, Geraldine Orozco, everybody. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller has another spooky story. Then the Jackster, the Jackinator, is back with the Crypted Report. Spaced Out Radio's Hour 3 is next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Thank you, my friend.
Awesome. Much love. Thank you so much. Let me, in case anybody wants, I'll go ahead and put the link to the website to the event. If anybody's interested, I'll put it in the chat there because I think somebody was saying something about it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I know Tim Mothman and his goatee will post it too. So.
Oh, they're so sweet. Thank you. I have to figure out how to get into my, oh, I can't put it in the chat. I'll just put it here in your private chat, and you can put it, Dave, if you want. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Much love. I'll see you. I'll see you soon.
All right, my friend. You take care, okay?
You too.
Bye-bye. Geraldine Orozco, everybody. Here is her link. Just throw that in there. And I will be right back. Jackie's hair looks good tonight, everyone. Just for an update. Jackie's hair looks good. All right. Orca 369 Pod, welcome to SOR Chat. How are you? Aaron P, how are you? Thank you tonight to Kira, JSCO, and Major Lee for the super chats. Greatly appreciate it. And here we go. What are we doing? Hey, everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com. Shop there today and make yourself look good. Thank you for joining us tonight. Yes, I have a dog and 2 cats, Mama Susan, and a fish. I do. A fish. All right. Here we go, everybody. Here is hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're having a lot of fun. I hope you are too. My name is Dave Scott, the host who's always here for you to entertain you through the night. All right. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Speaking of the Space Travelers Club, the Desert Clam has set the password for tonight. Basemain. Basemain is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Okay, let's head on over to the swamp. We got another creepy story for you.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. I believed in monsters or demons, but only once me and my 2 best friends encountered one. We were about 13 years old in rural northern Florida, down a long lime rock road backed up to a swamp on the edge of 80 acres of protected woodlands. Leo, Steve, and I often played by a small family-owned cemetery at the forest edge. Our house was only about 100 yards from the cemetery, and my mom would usually come onto our porch and holler for us to come in for supper. Now, we weren't being bad out there. We were taught to be respectful to the dead. However, the edge of the forest was where you could find all the good sticks and rocks that all the young boys wanted to play with. It was something about this area that had this broken brick wall blocking the cemetery from the woods that really enchanted me. There was one 15-foot section where a car had blasted through it one night and never got repaired. So that was our access point. We had played there 1,000 times before, and we would never play there again after that night. Like most late afternoons when waiting for supper, we would meet and walk over to the cemetery to start messing around. We had been out there for quite a while, going back and forth from the woods to the cemetery, wasting time wrestling and tossing stones, sword fighting with sticks, and all that other fun jazz. The best place to get sticks was a large brush pile, where the cemetery staff would toss back when cleaning the grounds. It started to get dark, and this old road had no street lights, so we waited for my mom when it was time to come home. As we were horsing around, an awful foul smell came out of nowhere. It smelled like rotting meat and feces. We all smelled it and acknowledged it, but we couldn't pinpoint its location. Moments later, my mom called out to us from behind the cemetery wall leading into the woods. This wasn't necessarily uncommon. My ma would come out here and there and scare us every so often, but something felt off. Something was wrong. She didn't holler like she usually would. She just said my name. One time. It was plain as day, and we all heard it. I said, "Yes, ma'am," and there was no response. All three of us ran to the hole in the wall and looked down and saw nothing. The smell was still strong, but there was no sign of my ma anywhere. Leo began to speak up and say that we should all go inside the house, and as the words got out of his mouth, we heard my mother's voice perfectly clear call my name again from the woods just beyond the giant brush pile. Steve, being the toughest of us all, called out, and this is a part I will never forget. He said, "Miss Marie, you ain't gonna scare me," and charged back towards the pile to try and scare her. Steve hadn't taken 3 steps when we heard my mom, Miss Marie, call out from my house, which was 100 yards back in the other direction. "Boys, girls, y'all come back in, supper's ready." We froze stiff. We all knew that we had just heard my mom's actual voice, not whatever monstrosity was 15 feet ahead of us behind the brush pile. She was calling from the house. It was undeniable. All at once, the brush pile seemed to explode with movement, and the loudest shriek, like a banshee I have ever heard, came from it. The smell increased to 100 times, and we scrambled to return home. We could hear the moment of something coming over the pile right for us. Leo screamed as we all darted for the hole in the brick wall. They were white bricks the wall was made of, which will be important later. We hauled our booties back home. My dad was halfway down the road to meet us, running full speed with a 12 gauge. He heard Leo scream and assumed the worst. He was coming to my rescue. Pulling out of the driveway, and the truck just behind him was my mom. My dad, Brad, came running up to us. "Y'all boys all right? What happened?" "Something was in the woods and it came after us. It wasn't an animal, it was a monster." Steve and Leo agreed and frantically repeated what I had said. We all tried to catch our breath. "Y'all boys get in the truck." We bailed into the bed as we climbed into the tailgate. My mom hauled ass back to the cemetery. They just stopped outside of it. My dad hopped off and went in. We all climbed up on the toolbox to try to see what was going on, but we couldn't really see anything. It seemed empty and quiet, but oddly, it was pretty. Not a bird chirping in sight, no cricket, just a beautiful sunset. About 10 minutes later, my dad came back to the truck looking confused and upset. He said, "Son, did y'all spill or mess with anything that you shouldn't have been?" "No, sir. Why do you say that?" "Y'all come back here and look at this." He led us back around the wall to where the hole was. Across the downed bricks and busted bricks, there was brown and black trail of something that looked like oil or some sort of really gross viscous type of liquid. It was disgusting, and a slimy trail of black-brown substance that reeked an awful smell like what we had encountered earlier started to ooze out of the bricks. It was gross, and it came all the way from the brush pile, where we got the sticks. We thought my mom was hiding there originally, earlier in the story, and it turns out now it was something much, much worse. It took a lot of convincing and many, many months of promising that we wouldn't mess around with things we shouldn't be for them to finally let us go back and play in that area. But we were pretty reluctant ourselves. We don't know what that liquid was. We don't know where it came from. We had to plead our innocence that we didn't bring it there and we weren't messing with anything. I don't know what that creature was. I can't even begin to speculate because I didn't really get such a good look at it that I can even describe what it looked like. I know what it smelled like. I know that it could mimic voices. And it was absolutely the most terrifying event of my entire life.
Thank you to Swamp Dweller for a weird, strange, spooky story just like that. If you want more, head to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads, and you will get his channel right there. All right. Time for Jackie Harmon, the Cryptid Report. All right, let's bring Jackie out here. Jackie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm trying to figure out an audio snafu here because your theme song did not play. It did not play. I don't know why, but we're going to figure that out. I will get it going. How you been?
I'm good. I've been really good. I'm so glad we're finally back on. You look amazing tonight. I love that white long shirt with your hair. That's
Oh,
amazing.
I do look amazing tonight. Our radio audience
Thank
can't
you.
see it, but I actually showered before the show. So,
Well, you
so I,
look great.
well, thank you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And hopefully I can continue such goodness moving on through this show. Lots of weird, strange news been happening lately. A lot of people have been really pushing towards trying to get some cryptid news going on. And you are
Yeah.
the same as well. What's new out there? What is really going on?
Well, actually, I was actually so overwhelmed with how many awesome stories I came across today that normally I'm like scrambling for stories, and today I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to just choose a few. I had so many good ones. But let me tell you about one really good one. This is actually an oldie. This is from August 4th, 19, or actually, I'm sorry, 1577.
Holy cow, what happened there?
Okay, so today in creepy history, at 9:30 a.m. in Suffolk, England, despite a raging thunderstorm, the citizens of Bungay, Suffolk, England, gathered at St. Mary's Church for Sunday services. Just as the minister reaches his sermon's second lesson, there is a huge clap of thunder, and the church's doors explode open. The storm rushes in, accompanied by a massive, fiery eyed, shaggy black dog. It terrorizes the congregation before it kills a 40-year-old man, a 15-year-old boy, and as they're all kneeling in prayer, it then mauls another man before charging back into the storm. Lightning strikes the church steeple, causing it to somehow collapse and crash through the church's roof. Moments later, the beast appears at the Holy Trinity Church located in Blythe Borough, where it kills three more people, while others mysteriously burn. It exits the north door and disappears into the storm. After claw marks are found scorched into the Holy Trinity Church door, many fear the beast to be the devil itself. The
No,
marks are still visible today.
no. So you can go there and actually see them?
You can go there and see them.
I wonder if this was some sort of creation of Beelzebub himself, or if this was like a werewolf going crazy. I don't know. But you know what? Before we continue on.
Oh, hello, Jackie.
I love it. I love it.
Oh,
Anytime anything's got my name in it, I love it. Jackie.
there. Now we got the theme song out of the way. Now we can
I
get.
love it.
I don't know why.
So we have the coolest new stuff going on now. It's the best.
I know. It was a good team effort. By the way, while you're here, big thank you for all your help during the last couple of weeks when we were in the basement fixing everything.
Oh, you're welcome.
You brought your socket set, you brought your wrenches, and I don't know why you brought a 9-iron, but I mean, it was weird, but we used it. Okay, we did.
Always
But
find a way for it.
getting back to that devilish monster here,
Mhm.
why does it seem like in the like 14, 15, 16, 17, 1800s, all the cool stuff happened? You know what I'm saying? Like all
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. You always hear like the coolest stories from like way back when, and they'll be like 1300, 1400, 1500s, and it's like, whoa, like how come we don't see things like that? But, the truth is, people actually do see things like this. They do. And I think a lot more people are starting to come out and, record those things. I think a lot of people for the longest time had a scary time with like coming forward. They didn't want to be ridiculed. Nowadays they're like way more comfortable, like, oh, paranormal is like a thing and everybody's into it now. So people are like way more comfortable with like, oh yeah, I'll tell my story. So for sure.
Well, I mean, let me ask you this then, because that's actually a good point. Where do you think the internet has benefited or not benefited the cryptid community, because we don't have those people standing out anymore of the, you don't
Mhm.
hear of another Travis Walton type story. You don't hear of a Beast of Bray Road type story, or the Legend of Boggy Creek, or anything.
Yeah.
It seems like in today's social media world, where everything is so instantaneous, that we don't get those real true Betty and Barney Hill type adventure stories anymore.
Mhm. Well, I do see that, like, it can be a positive for many reasons of connecting, for sure, because I think there's so many more groups now where people who have gone through things can connect more easily to others who have gone through it. But the negative side to it, to me, is also that you do hear so many stories that they kind of get lost in the shuffle of how many there are put out there. And the sad part about it is, I feel like so many people fake things for the attention. They want that 15 minutes of fame on something. And so you do see a lot of videos nowadays that, look like they're just not real. And they obviously are someone's running in a suit in a field or the woods or something. So, but I do appreciate the ones that, when there are people out there doing their real investigation and they do come forward with that, evidence that the rest of us really enjoy seeing. I do enjoy those. So, the internet today, I think, brings both negative and positive. But to me, I feel like it's more positive. It's where you put your attention.
And where is that intention?
Well, for me, I mean, I like to watch things that for people that I trust. I like to watch people who make the videos that I know for sure go out and that they're actually doing the real work. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really into the ghost stories, or, like, the ones that people have been making for years and years and years. And, like, you go to a house and not things aren't going to happen the second you walk in. Okay. You might be for a month and nothing's going to happen. But on TV shows, you're going to walk in and it's like, oh, it's already hit me, And so, there's a lot of things, and I'm not going to name any shows or names or anything, but I'm sure there's a lot of people faking stuff for entertainment reasons, and that's fine if it's for entertainment reasons. But I do feel like there's a lot of us out there who are trying to come back with real evidence. And I know for a fact that I'm doing that and you're doing that. And, I know that there's a lot of people out there who are really honest about what they're doing. And you get to know those people by growing relationships in this field. And they're people that I really trust. So I really enjoy that they're going out and continuing to do that. Now, there are some TV shows, I'm not going to say they're all bad, but there are some out there that I feel like are really trying hard to bring back real evidence. And I appreciate them.
I can see that too. All right, we
Yeah.
got about 5.5 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Jackie Arman in the Crypted Report on Spaced Out Radio continues out right now. Jackie, where are we heading next?
Well, actually, I'm going to tell you guys a story about some guys that were just in Yellowstone National Park. So I'm going to get all into that with you guys. But do we have time for that?
Well, let's get her started. If we got to continue it after the
Okay.
break, we can do that.
Okay, so this was actually just a few days ago. Now, I grew up in California. I know Yellowstone National Park, and I've been up there many, many times. It's a beautiful place. So these guys decide they're going to go on a camping trip, and it's something that they do every single year together. They all decide to take a week off and go up to Yellowstone. Well, they get up there and they realize that they have not made a reservation for an actual spot, thinking like, oh, it's not going to be hard. We'll just drive up there, we'll take our gear and set up in a camping spot. Well, they get there and everything is sold out, where they're thinking, well, we're already here for a week. Let's just drive around and see what we can get. So they end up finding this spot off on the side of the road that actually is like a flat spot that has about two or three like areas where people had made fire pits prior. So they knew someone had camped there before. So they decide to get out and they walk up and they're checking it out. And they're like, yeah, this is a good spot. And we're right next to a creek. So they're big on hiking. They decide this is perfect. Let's just camp here. So they go ahead and set up before it gets dark. And they decide to walk off and go, wander into the woods. Well, when they get back, they decide they're going to walk down to the creek and get cleaned up. Well, all 5 of them are down there freshening up and changing clothes. And one of them sees this, he thinks it's a man standing behind a tree on the opposite side of the creek. And he's watching them. And he can't quite make out who it is because he says it looked like someone in very dark clothing, very tall, but couldn't quite make out who it was because he was standing a little bit back. And so we thought, well, that's kind of weird. Not very comfortable feeling, but okay, strange. So he heads back across the way, and they decide to get ready to go, go to bed. So they're all like getting ready to get in their tent. And he says, I think I'm going to go ahead and tell these guys just in case something else happens. And he does decide to come over. Well, as soon as he gets done explaining to the people what happened, none of them want to get in the tent at this point. They're just like, we're not comfortable now, like with this situation. And so the guy says, all right, well, then we can just stay in the truck and, make sure that we're safe. And so all 5 guys literally piled back in the truck. And as they're in there, they're all like talking, and then they get very comfortable. And I think one of them was still kind of a little nervous. So he's the only one awake at this point, and he's watching out the windows. And he says by this time it's about 2:30 in the morning. And all of a sudden he sees something standing in front of the tent. And he's looking at it, and he can tell now this is not a normal looking human. This is like a very large, tall, hairy size or looking, dark hair, almost feral looking is what he explained, like a human that looked feral. And he said it was trying to open up the tent. Like he thought whatever was in there, the guys were in the tent. And so he's watching it, and it's literally trying to unzip the tent. And that's when he starts freaking out and waking the other guys up. Well, I don't know if the thing heard him, but it stands up and looks at him and realizes they're not in the tent. They're actually in the truck. So it crawls around the side. Do what?
I said, oh my.
Oh, so it crawls around the side of the tent, and now it's trying to hide from them. And so as they're sitting there, they realize, okay, we need to figure out what to do, because if this thing comes over here, we need to go. And so it stands up, and it starts to walk towards them, but very almost creepy, crawly walk like. And it's slow, and it's just creeping up on them. And so the guy says they're all freaking out. All they want to do is get out of there. And he starts yelling, honk the horn. So they start slamming on the horn. And then it very slowly stands up, all the way stands up, looks right at them, turns around and walks away into the woods, like as if nothing freaked it out. Like it just walks away. And so all the guys are like freaked out, don't know what's going on, can't make sense of what they've seen. I think most of them didn't believe in anything like cryptid or Bigfoot or anything like that. So they're not understanding, like, what is this? What could this be?
Right.
And
Hold that thought. Hold that story right there, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We have the Crypted Report with Jackie Harmon continuing on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Stay tuned, everybody.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
Beautiful. Good stuff. Good stuff. The Jackaroni. Right there. You can say hi, Jack.
Hi.
Mm-hmm. We have 4 minutes and 55 seconds left. 4 minutes. 4 minutes.
I love you in white, by the way.
I match.
You look really nice.
I dressed myself today and did my own hair.
Looks good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was just thinking, for our podcast audience that is listening to this, how many times I actually will cough during the break and clear my throat. And I'm like,
Yeah.
damn it. I'm sure they're tired of hearing that. They're like, shut up, Dave. Like, don't you have a cough button? No.
Oh my gosh. I know. I have to admit I'm the worst at that. I always forget I have a mute button when we're doing the show, and I'll cough and I'll go, oh God, I have a mute button.
You have a mute button. You have a mute button.
Yeah. I was watching these videos today,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so weird when you don't really get on normally and watch other people's camping stuff. And I thought, well, since it's summer, let me do something that I know a lot of people out there are doing right now. So it'll give them a little bit of a, camping scare. And I'm not kidding you. Some of them freak me out.
Yeah. We had an incident the other night, excuse me, at our Sasquatch spot. Literally about 5 minutes before we were leaving, and we were forced to leave not because of anything cryptid or animal. It's because the lightning decided to start showing up. And Tim, our UFO guy, him and his wife, they heard something kind of go thump thump in the forest. That familiar thump thump?
Yeah.
Because it's always thump thump. It's never thump
Yeah.
thump. It's always thump thump.
Mm-hmm.
And they heard that, and they brought their flashlight up, and about, 60 yards away, I'm going to assume, maybe 50. Tim watched this shadow move between the trees.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, me being the ever expert in this field, I forgot to ask, what kind of shadow was it? He'll probably tell me tomorrow.
Yeah.
But he watched this shadow move in between the trees. And 2 minutes later, bang, the lightning opened up right above us.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you were going to say you guys had more fire, and it pushed you out.
No, we don't do the fire thing at this time of year.
Yeah. I don't know if Tim's been telling you at all, but we're having massive fires here.
Yeah.
I actually had one right down the street from my house here a couple days ago.
Oh my.
And they were having people evacuate.
That's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, evacuation is not fun.
No, they are not. Yeah. Oh, I love that Vicks sniffer.
Oh, love my Vicks sniffer.
That thing's the best.
Oh, it's like this fresh coat of menthol in winter shoved up your nose.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing. Big thank you tonight to Kira, Major Lee at JSCO. Greatly appreciate you guys for the super chat. And of course, We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag at the Spaced Out Radio store. Come check it out today. spacedoutradio.com/shop and get your gear with our stuff on it. Yeah, you got a choice of a lot of things. So just go check it out. Here we go. Like 4 seconds.
Okay.
All right, we've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Talking cryptids and monsters and paranormal with Jackie Harmon. Yeah. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Jackie Harmon continues with a story that she started right before the break about a monster lurking around. Jackie, continue on, please.
Okay, so getting back to the story. So these guys were actually sitting in their truck when they saw this creature turn around and walk away. And of course, they were all freaked out and decided they would, stay in there, of course, till daylight when they were deciding to pack it up and move to another location. Well, they decided to get up and go, grab all their gear and take it with them. And they actually ended up going to a second site, which was actually a lot further away than where they had started out. And they decided once they got all set up, they would just go check out more area, go check out all the touristy places that they could go see and go hiking and have some more fun. Well, here it comes round 2, night 2 in Yellowstone. And lo and behold, they have another strange night. Well, they get everything set up and they decide, well, let's see how this night goes. Well, they decide to actually get in the tent, but they all decided to stay in one tent together because they were so freaked out that they were like, okay, we don't need to be separated. Let's just stay together. So all 5 of them climb in this tent. And now one of them gets waken up. He says it's probably somewhere around 2:00 again in the morning. And he wakes up another friend and says, I can hear something. What is that? And his friend tells him, those are birds, like birds chirping. And he's like, why are birds chirping at 2:00 in the morning? It's pitch dark here. That's strange. And he says, well, I don't know. I can't make any sense of that either, but I can hear them. And so they laid there listening to them. And he said, all of a sudden, they could hear noises as if things were being kind of thrown closer to them, not like exactly where they were, but they could hear things being thrown around. So 2 of the guys decide they're going to get out of the tent and just check things out. Well, as soon as they stood outside of the tent, and their truck was literally right next to the tent, he said they saw 2 figures standing down at the end of the road. Of course, now they're screaming to their buddies, you got to get up, let's get out of here. And they all hightail it up, get out, get in the truck. And they can all see these 2. Once again, they said one looked male, one looked female, very tall. And he said they looked very human, feral-like. He wouldn't say the word like Bigfoot or Sasquatch or anything like that. He just said they looked very dirty, very tall, very big, very feral. And so the other guy in the truck was like, I don't believe in this. I don't know what we're seeing, but whatever it is, I can see them. And he said they turned the truck around because they had to go the other way. And as soon as they turned the truck around, they could actually see 3 more of them standing off to the side behind where the tent had originally been sitting out by the time they turned around. And now he said they could see 5 figures. All 5 of these guys can see all 5 of these figures and these creatures. And the guy just said, I'm out of here. Let's go. They literally left the tent, whatever was in the tent. They said, forget it. We don't need it. and they bolted. So he said the next day, well, they ended up driving all the way down into town and getting a hotel that night because they said they just wanted away from the area. And so they actually ended up going and talking to the local sheriff the next morning and reported it. And the sheriff said, you're not the only people who have, come to me in the last few days to, make a record of like what you guys have seen. And the guy said, well, what exactly did the other people see? We'll tell you what we saw. And the guy was telling him like, this is what they saw. And he said, that's exactly what we saw. What is that? Because the guy's still saying, I don't believe in Bigfoot. Like, but what is this? Is this some kind of weird, like mountain people? Like, what do you have up here? And the sheriff kind of laughs at him and says, no, we don't really have mountain people, but yeah, we have had reports of people saying that they've seen, Bigfoot up here in this area. And he said, not only that, but we actually have a lot of missing person reports of people come up and they'll go camping. And then all of a sudden, all their stuff is there and they're gone and they're never seen again. And so, of course, these guys are freaked out and say, well, we're never going again. And so they took off after making their report. And I guess one of them had, somehow reported the story and was talking about how that all 5 of the friends now are absolutely convinced because they went home and the ones that didn't believe started watching Bigfoot movies and YouTube stories and just researching everything that they could about Bigfoot. And
Right.
he said, now all 5 of them claim they're all believers now.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
quite a wake-up call.
That was just a few days ago.
And yet Yellowstone, if we look at David Paulides and Missing 411, Yellowstone is one of the highest ranking places of people who go missing. And
Yeah.
there are people who said they've seen portals open up. They've seen Sasquatch. They've seen aliens. They've seen feral people.
Uh-huh.
And these are people who also aren't just traveling alone. They're traveling with other people as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, they are. And I've actually been to Yellowstone National Park many, many times. And I've been hiking through the woods. I've camped there. I've stayed down the hill in a hotel and gone up during the day. And there are different areas of the woods up there that has a really weird feeling, a strange vibe. There's like, once you walk into certain areas, the whole place changes. And I've been doing that since I was young, going up there. And I have felt that time and time again. And it makes me wonder, like, what is it that makes you feel that change all of a sudden? Because it just will really go from one feeling to a completely different feeling just instantly.
I get you. I get
Yeah.
you on that. It's one of those things where we just try and figure out the mysteries that are surrounding the people who go missing and the people who have strange encounters. Do you have another story for us?
Actually, I do. Let me get my
Perfect.
glasses on because I am blind as a bat. All right. This one actually, we've been talking a lot about aliens. Of course, that's a big, big thing right now. So I actually started thinking about this and I was wondering how often or do you guys ever talk about Hangar 18? And for those of you guys who don't know, Hangar 18 is a legendary alien warehouse. And now I'm wondering, does it actually exist? Well, I got this story and I want to see if you guys see if it exists or not. So, crash UFOs, alien autopsies, and government cover ups. untangling the legend surrounding Ohio's Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. That's where this is at, so to speak, okay? As home to Project Blue Book, ground zero for a government investigation of UFOs from 1951 to 1969, Wright Field, now Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, outside Dayton, Ohio, ranks up there alongside Area 51 as a subject of enduring speculation. Many of the rumors surrounding Wright-Pat, as it's known for short, involve what might have gone on inside a particular building known as Hangar 18. UFO enthusiasts believe the government hid physical evidence from their investigations, including flying saucer debris, extraterrestrial remains, and even captured aliens in this mysterious warehouse, specifically inside a sealed, highly guarded location dubbed the Blue Room. The legend of Hangar 18 goes back to the supposed crash of a UFO in the desert near Roswell, New Mexico in July of 1947, which I believe may have been the first known reported alien sighting, I think. So in July of 1947, according to a press release issued by the Roswell Army Airfield, at the time, their personnel inspected the flying disc and sent it on a higher headquarters. A subsequent press release from an Air Force base in Fort Worth, Texas, soon to be the headquarters where it left, claimed the disc was a weather balloon, a claim that Air Force acknowledged was untrue in 1994, admitting it had been testing a surveillance device designed to fly over nuclear research sites in the Soviet Union. But in addition to Fort Worth, many UFO researchers believe some of the materials from Roswell were also transported to Wright Field after the crash and stored in Hangar 18. Based on unsubstantiated reports from former military pilots, one Oliver Henderson reportedly told his wife that he flew a plane loaded with debris along with several small alien bodies from Roswell to Wright Field. According to the children of another pilot, World War II ace Marion Black Mac Magruder, their father claimed to have seen a living alien at Wright Field in 1947 and told them it was a shameful thing that the military destroyed this creature by conducting tests on it. Isn't that insane?
You know, you can always hope that you hear stories like that and it leads to some sort of evidential adventure in the future.
Exactly.
You know, and while you were reading that, it actually made me think of Mike Turner. Now, a lot of people might not know who Mike Turner is. He is a representative and a Republican who happens to be a senator for the area that includes Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
That's right.
He knows he has a lot of people on that base that vote for him every couple of years. And it was him leading the charge last year to shoot down the Schumer Rounds amendment, which included UFOs/UAPs in the defense budget.
Oh, wow.
And all I can think of is here we're talking Hangar 18, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and all of this comes up. Now, I heard this story on this show a few years ago. I had a researcher out of that area who was friends with a firefighter who worked at Wright-Pat. And all that he said was that they have one building. It might be more now, but they had one building at Wright-Patterson that they were told that if a fire ever broke out in there, let it burn.
Oh, wow.
Let it burn to the ground.
Interesting.
Yeah. Do not put it out. Do not try and save whatever is in there or whoever is in there. Just let it burn.
Wow. Almost like a pre-plan of a burn.
Almost like a Hangar 18.
I'd say Exactly. Like a Hanger 18.
Right. Right.
I
And
mean,
I later
yeah.
had that confirmed. I later had that confirmed.
Wow. You
So
know, if they have something that's really in there and they tell people that, it's almost like them just letting you know, like, if we decide to do something and burn it, you do nothing about it. You
right.
just keep walking.
But what are you supposed to do in that situation? Like, like maybe it's because I'm a little bit of a blabbermouth being on the radio and everything. I don't know if I could keep those secrets. I don't think I would be good at keeping those secrets. I really don't. If somebody made me sign an NDA and said, hey, you're not allowed to talk about, this spaceship in this hangar. And by the way, there's the alien bodies in formaldehyde jars. I don't know if I could keep that secret. That's just way too precious to me.
Yeah.
Now, literally, if let's just say, I don't know, pick somebody high up in the military, phones me up and says, "Hey Dave, we want to show you something." And they fly me out there and they show me this. But now they say, by the way, before we do this, we need you to sign this NDA. And literally they're giving you the answers to everything, but you
Yeah.
got to give up the radio show. Do you do it? Do you not? Do you do it? Do you not?
What kind of answers are we talking about? Answers to everything, literally everything. Now you have all knowledge.
No. Let's say aliens, UFOs, and throw in a Bigfoot for dessert.
Well, the fact that I already believe that they already exist, so I guess it would just be a visual for me because I already believe they're there.
Well, I know that, and I'm in the same boat as you
Yeah.
because I believe in it. But we're
Yeah.
saying that you can touch the craft, you can
Oh,
walk in there, okay? You can
that's a
see
tough
the
one.
inside. All right.
Oh,
Oh, I
if
know.
okay, if I can go inside and I can touch stuff, like I'm allowed to touch the buttons and drive, okay, maybe I might, I might, I might have to give up the radio. I mean, oh, that's a tough one
And,
for me.
and by the way, for the dessert, you go into a different room, and on the other side of a glass wall is a live Bigfoot.
Oh, you're killing me.
Do you give it up? Or do you say, no, I do not want that? This,
Oh,
this is the stuff I think about when I'm sitting in the bathtub with my sharks, because literally I have toy great white sharks that I play with in the bathtub. I do. All right.
that's a hard
I'm not,
one.
I'm not even lying about the shark thing. I have two great. My son got me two great white sharks
That's
for
cool though.
yeah. So,
Make
anyways,
sure you're lying. That's all I have to say.
I don't know what I would do in that position. I don't know.
It's a hard one. That's a hard one, especially for like people like me and you. Like, if I can get inside that craft, I mean, we can start a new radio station.
All right. Yeah, right. Yeah, but you're not going to be able to talk this topic. That's the problem.
Oh, that's a hard one.
I know. I've often thought about
I'm
that.
thinking
You know,
about that forever now.
you know what? I often joke on this show. Hello to all the agents and agencies out there tuning us in right now. Give us a call sometime because you already have the phone number. And I've often said, some of us can be bought. And I jokingly say that, but you wouldn't believe how many people actually take me seriously on that. And literally, if they said, we'll give you the information. All right. We'll give you the information, but you got to shut it down.
Oh,
Oh, I don't know if I would.
I mean, I gotta say that's a hard one. That is really a hard one because, like, come on,
You know what?
that's once in a million lifetime.
I equate it to this, Jackie. When I was like 13, 14 years old, I really wanted this remote truck for Christmas. I really wanted it. And I asked for it for Christmas as my big gift for the year. And it was getting closer to Christmas, about 10, 12 days away from Christmas. And I went snooping around. I couldn't handle it. And I found it. And I was so mad at myself,
Hmm.
because I ruined that surprise for me, that I didn't know that it would ruin my reaction, my curiosity, and my inquisitiveness.
Mm.
It killed that moment for me. I mean, I was still excited when Mom wrapped it up and put it under the tree. I never told my parents that, but it bothered me. I never did it again.
Wow.
Never did it again. Go snooping for presents. And I look at it the same way as this. Even though I believe in UFOs, I believe in Bigfoot, I believe in ghosts, I've had encounters with all of them.
Mhm.
Do I really, really want to know? Because then it ends the mystery.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. It would kill the mystery.
Now, personally, with my experiences, I already know because I've seen a UFO landing twice. I have seen aliens. I have seen Bigfoot. But for some reason, we always want that concrete proof, because the moments are usually very fleeting.
Yeah.
Do I really want that? And that's what keeps me questioning. Jackie,
Yeah.
Element 115, Friday nights with Major Lee Strauss, the extra small man. And thank you for a great cryptid report. We'll talk to you next week.
Very welcome.
All right, as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your car, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Elgab, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SLR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. That was awesome. That was good. That was good. Would you do it, though? Would you want to know?
God, now I'm on the fence because, as much as I would love to have all the answers, I mean, then where do you go from there? Is it done? Are you just done because now you know?
That's exactly it. Are you done? We don't know.
Yeah, that's a hard one because as much as I would love to see it, if I knew I had to give up something really important, then probably not. Probably not. I wouldn't want to give up something important to me.
because there is something amazingly awesome when you have that fleeting experience.
Mm.
It's like I can tell you the exact moment that I believed in Santa Claus. I can tell you the exact moment. I was like 4 years old. It was Christmas Eve. My parents had company over because we had one of those cul-de-sacs where everybody was friends
Mhm.
and everybody came over to our house, or this time it was our house. And it was dark out. And I remember looking up in my window looking for Santa Claus because I was so excited.
Cute.
And I remember seeing a red light, just a little red dot in the sky. And I remember thinking, I'm awake and here comes Santa Claus. And
Aw.
that's Rudolph's nose. And ever since then, I have been convinced that Santa Claus is real. Now, that's just me. I'm 51. Do I still believe Santa Claus is real? Yeah, I do. But in different ways than I did as a child,
Mm.
right? But the point that I'm getting at is there was that magic behind it. Like I knew at that moment when I saw Rudolph's nose, and
Yep.
most likely it was a plane flying by. Okay, with its red light. I didn't know that back then. I'm 4 years old or 5 years old. Okay. But the memory of that happening, thinking, oh crap, I better get to bed. Santa Claus is right there and he's going to skip out of my house
Oh
because
no.
I haven't fallen asleep yet. And I remember thinking, oh my God, like I need to get to bed.
Mhm.
And, but that excitement was still with me
Oh yeah.
45 years later.
The magic is still with you.
Yes, the magic is still with me. So when I put that towards anything, I think if I were to want one thing that I would like to know
Mhm.
over aliens and everything, I'd like to know that we go on when we die. I
Oh,
believe that we do, but I would
that I
love that.
know.
That's the one confirmation I would like.
Yeah. Well, like I've talked about, before prior on here and even on our show, is I started seeing people that have passed on at a very young age. So that's not even something I've ever even questioned. Um, I still have past family members come visit me, and it's just always been like that for me. So that became a very normal thing for me at a very young age. And then other people in my family have had the exact same situation. So that is the one thing that I've never questioned in all of the things paranormal is afterlife. I 100% have had experience with afterlife and people passing on. So it's the other stuff that I'm curious about, like, do I believe in it? Yes. It's like I don't have to physically see it in front of me to feel that it's there. And I often ask, like the spirit guides or family members that have passed, because I literally just talk to them like they're around me because they are. We all live in the same space. It's just a different, um, like it's hard to explain, but it's just like a kind of like a different realm, but still you're all in the same energy. And so that hasn't been a hard one for me. Is I know for a fact that we do move on. We actually have choices in the afterlife. That's something that they've explained to me. Um, you can either go on to forever live in the afterlife, or you can choose to reincarnate. Like, I mean, there are a lot of things that I've had conversations with people that have passed on in my life. So, um, it's all the other stuff, like the paranormal stuff that I've always been wondering about. Now, I wonder if they know, and that's something that they don't tell me. Which I wish they would,
God, I
but
don't know.
But yeah, I don't know. But I think that you have to find your own balance of belief and, you know,
Well,
I
I get
think a lot of people think that you like when you die, you kind of go through this weird space. It's like an instant thing you do. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You're not like an in between. You're not like in a waiting room to heaven or something. You know, you just you go. So
I don't know. I do not
yeah.
know. That makes me kind of, I don't know. I really don't know. That's the one fear. That's the
Oh,
one fear.
don't fear.
Oh, I
That's
fear.
that's the one thing you shouldn't fear. Don't fear. You're a very good person and you'll be fine. You'll have a wonderful experience and it's nothing that people think. It's not scary. It's nothing to worry about. And the second you
Oh,
leave, you no longer worry about the things here on earth. Those feelings are gone.
oh, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you there. But it is what it is. But I don't know if that phone call came to me and said, "Hey, we will show you this if you shut down your show." I don't know if I would.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do it if it was going to cost me something important or something like I said, like the show or I would definitely never do anything to lose something that I love or someone. But
As the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase says, everybody's got a price, right?
eh, I mean, I guess it depends on what it's for.
Okay, here's one. Let's throw a wrench into it.
Okay.
Never mind the aliens or UFOs. We'll give you the secrets. We'll show you the secrets. We'll even pay off your mortgage.
Well, I rent, so I guess I'm good. But
Hmm.
if I but if you would buy me a house, we can talk.
Yeah. We'll buy you a house. We will buy you a house. I will buy you a new house.
Now, I live in Southern California, so that house is going to cost somebody a pretty penny.
You want to see you want to see grotesque? Go check out
Oh,
Vancouver. Go check out the prices of Vancouver real estate.
oh,
Okay, so they're being Canadian because they love to rub in how much better the United States is. They actually, I was watching this Facebook reel about what a $1 million house looks like in Vancouver compared to a $1 million house in Texas.
oh, in Texas? Oh my God, you can buy a mansion for probably $300,000 to $500,000. A
Yeah,
mansion.
it was insane. Like Vancouver, you get this decrepit, old, rotten house that needs to be torn down and redone for like 1.3 million. At
Ooh,
1.3 million in the US, down in Texas gets you like 50 acres and a
oh yeah,
6,000 square foot house with a detached
yeah,
3-car garage. The
that's
you
true.
know the putting green in the backyard, right beside the pool and the hot tub, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, damn.
All true. Texas is amazing if you can move to Texas and you have an amazing job or money to live there, it is by far an amazing. Now, I don't know if I'd want to live in Texas, but yeah, you can get a lot in Texas. You cannot touch anything like that where I live. I mean,
Oh yeah.
a $500,000 house is going to get you a probably a maybe a 2 to 3 bedroom condo here. Yeah.
Not even here anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Like
It's crazy.
In Vancouver, the average house cost in Canada right now is $850,000.
That's
And
crazy.
Vancouver next to New York has the second highest
Mm,
pricing for property in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, I think New York is number 1, Vancouver is number 2.
Yeah, it's absurd. I used to live in upstate New York, and that the property down there is absurd in the city. But I am at least lucky enough that I live about maybe half hour to 40 minutes away from the beach. So it's somewhat, and I say somewhat affordable, but you still have to probably spend about like 6 to 700, maybe a little more, just to get like a normal 3 bedroom house out here. But that's inland. That's where I live, inland. If you
Right.
go to the beach, you're not even touching probably a 2 to 3 bedroom house for less than 1.5 or more. It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, probably
Let's
more now.
let's see what
Prices
we
have skyrocketed.
have here. I'm just looking on let's see here. Okay, get rid of the history. I hate it when they keep your history. Let's go for sale. Minimum price. Let's say 1 million to 1.4 million. And let's see here. What's that one look like? Oh, that one's been redone. I'm trying to find what it kind of looks like here. Oh my God.
I grew up in my parents are real estate brokers. My dad passed a couple years ago, but so I grew up and my parents owned what's called Harmon Homes here. And so growing up in the real estate world, you learn a lot about the real estate and all the blah, blah, blahs of real estate. And it always just blew my mind, like how much people pay for property in certain areas. Just like, I don't get it. I just have a hard time understanding why somebody would spend $1 million. Like, and then my dad used to have this joke, like, you could put some new carpet and fresh paint, and that place would be a nice dump.
Well, on my screen on realtor.ca right now, if I do Vancouver, and I got between 1 million and 1.4 million. Okay, there are 709 listings for 1 million to 1.4. Now, if I say expand that 1.5, let's go. So let's go to 7 million. So let's go 1.5.
7 million.
Yeah. So if I go 1.5 to 7 million, this is in downtown Vancouver alone. Okay, this is just housing. Housing. There are 2,303 listings.
Wow.
In Vancouver alone for 1.5 to 7 million. So now, if I go 7 million to 20 million, 7 million to 20 million, there are 192 listings.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Where are these people getting their money?
I have no idea.
That's insanity.
No idea. It's ridiculous.
I live, like, some friends of mine live up in the Hollywood Hills, and you have to go through, well, Beverly Hills and Hollywood Hills are connected. And there is a house up there that just sold for $188 million.
What?
And I'm just like, I don't even understand. Where do people get that money? It's crazy.
That is silly. Somebody worked hard. Somebody worked hard.
somebody worked hard for probably, their trust fund or something.
Could be.
I don't know about that. I don't know what you could possibly do unless you're, Elon Musk or something.
I don't know. That's just scary for me. What I would do with $10 million, let alone buying a house for $180 million.
I would never spend money like that on a house. Like, I always say, if I ever won the lottery and it was enough to buy myself like a really nice, beautiful, decent home and just pay cash for it, I would do that and have maybe 1 or 2 decent cars. Like, I don't need to live in some fancy mansion, no Barbie mansion in Malibu. It would be nice to be near the water, but it's absurd to live there.
I think if I was like now that I'm in my early 50s, that doesn't matter to me anymore. But when I was like between 30 and 40, I would say 30 and 45, it was like, oh, hell yeah. I would totally do that. Not now, though.
No.
Not now. I'm more about, if I had that kind of money, big motor home with a trailer that has my side-by-side and my Jeep in it, and get one of those motorhomes that you can tuck the Ferrari underneath in between the wheel wells.
Yeah. I've seen those where they go underneath and get lifted in there.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, Jack, hold on. On that note, thank you to Deborah Rooney, Kira, JSCO, and Lee for the super chats tonight. Tomorrow night on the show, Connie Willis will be with us. You may know her from Coast to Coast AM. She loves her Bigfoot. She loves her weirdo-ness. And I'm so excited to have her on the show. We'll see you tomorrow night, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.